Well, today is part two of Judgment Day of this book. The name's Adam.
I'm ImpCit, and we're doing our second half of Degenesis' first book.
Yeah, because core book should definitely be two books. I'm still kind of messed up on that. But last time we managed to get pretty far. We covered the basic world setting, and again, I'm going to be blunt. The amount of stuff that you get for how much page usage they have, I don't think it's quite worth it. It doesn't quite meet the punch, so to speak. It doesn't quite punch its weight. So this to me, because besides mechanics, an RPG book relies on its lore. This is basically its last chance to kind of really get at me. So with that in mind, let's begin.
So we're starting with essentially what you call your classes or your main career. The game has 13 different cults that you can be part of, and there's a big deep dive into what they are, their history, and their ranks. So the first one up is the Spitalians,
Or as I like to call them, we have Kriegers at home.
not just Kriegers, but German Doctor Kriegers.
So Kriegers, but with the Hospitaller sisters, just with more dudes.
Sure.
I'm being a
So
little bit particular. I'm being a bit of a prick, but just when you see the pickle hob and the fucking gas masks, what do you expect me to think?
German.
Outrageously German.
Well, very much so. I mean, this was made by a German company.
Oh boy.
So the Spitalians, what they know of their history is that the Spital was once the Southern Ruhr Crisis Center. During the Asheton, the apocalypse that created the world, uh, there was much looting, too many people, not enough resources. Looters were storming the facility, killing everyone that they could. The doctors, though, had enough, defending themselves with scalpels in infusion stands and injectors with cartridges full of sulfuric acid. Oxygen and gas bottles intended for ventilation were turned into flamethrowers. So,
Honestly, I'm already having a little bit of issue with it, and that's specifically because I know what oxygen gas is like. You're asking for them to be essentially detonated. Oxygen is highly reactive.
yeah, maybe that's the point.
There's also a secondary issue I kind of have in that I don't quite. If it was just the doctors, that's a hell no. If you include the orderlies, it's a little more believable because they are strong enough to basically take patients and hold them down.
Yeah, I,
Like,
I,
there's
ass-
some plausibility in a hospital surviving. I just feel like that they would have gotten overrun. Hospitals traditionally would in a crisis like this.
well, 4 years later, though, the remnants of the UEO, I guess it was the United European Organization, was able to help solidify things. So they not only had doctors, they also had soldiers.
How many days in a
And
row did they have to defend themselves?
I don't know.
They don't specify.
They
Hmm.
don't. All they say is when the UEO forces finally intervened, they had already gone too far.
What, in killing looters?
Yeah. I mean, again, if they were using oxygen for flamethrowers.
Oh, no, no. You could do something worse. What is this? The crisis center? Okay, so
Mhm.
thankfully, it's not. They also did not have a disease lab because when I think of going too far, I think of weaponizing the storage that you have.
Oh, they do.
Yeah, later on, but they don't specify
Yeah.
that.
So the doctors are starting to recover, build up. Apparently, Hive, which was HIV-E.
Oh yeah, that's the super AIDS that was designed to kill all the black people in this setting.
Yep.
Because that's how good the setting is. It Oh, I can't
The
wait until we cover the Scourges because I've
yeah.
read that one and it's awful.
So doctors and the soldiers join together in a shared duty of self-preservation and also genuinely helping people.
By the way, if you're
They
wondering what Hive is like, okay, Super AIDS, but through Ebola because the lore masters did not decide to do any research on virology, despite having a faction who specializes in medicine. Why would you do this to me? Now, don't get me wrong, there are some very weird mutations of viruses. Um, if I remember right, there's like, oh god. There's a family of viruses that are mostly fine. They basically just cause the cold, and then I think there's a variant that just causes your lungs to hemorrhage. So it's not unreasonable. It's just it's a little weird. It's a little weird that this immunodeficiency mutated virus just causes super Ebola.
so they then emerged at you know not only as doctors but also as defense. They wore those suits with the gas masks. They started organizing
I
everything
Okay,
as almost like a
I have a
military
second
campaign.
issue. So they're going with the army gas masks, which are very obsolete for the time period that they're in. Same with the pickle hob. There's a reason we don't use those anymore. In fact, actually, it's aerodynamically not as good. Why aren't they using? Why weren't they evolved from EP? Was it EP uniforms, like environmental protection uniforms?
Maybe they were.
I don't dislike the usage of white, but if you're wondering, the reason why we moved from white to blue is actually to calm patients. So in a way, I think it would be more fitting if they were like a light green, like a seafoam green.
Well, they're not caring about calming patients.
Yeah,
They're
but they started as a doctor's order, even if they don't understand nor give a shit. I'm just pointing this out. It's like it's a little interesting that they're kind of going with the route. This is a case of style trumping substance, in
yeah.
my
I,
opinion.
I think they may have gone a little Mad Max.
I don't dislike
In
it.
the,
I mean, visually, there's a reason they picked it because of the color coordination between white and black. It adds to that end of the world vibe, that apocalyptico, especially since their hospital uniform logo literally looks like the eight-folded star of chaos that Moorcock made. That was later
yeah.
used in Warhammer.
So while they were able to eradicate diseases, they found one new threat: sepsis.
Yeah, that's the super fungus from the aliens.
And so it's a kill on sight order. Uh,
Which, if
because
you're wondering where this comes from, I will actually give credit to the lore guys here. Have you? It comes from the concept of hoof and mouth disease. It is a fictional disease that affects cattle, and the only solution to which, because of its infectivity, is to isolate those that are infected or have been exposed to hoof and mouth from the rest, and then just killing them. This is actually a very common disease control method. At least it was a very old disease control method. In fact, the first quarantines were a thing in the aftermath of the first wave of Black Death. Ragusa was the first to actually do this. So this is
so
actually something that is to its credit, lore-wise.
so that they saw the rising mutations,
No,
the
I just
rising,
had to give credit
yeah.
because I've been shitting on this book. Like, this is actually a good moment in the book.
So they saw this infection, the burn, the primer, as something that will obliterate mankind. And these doctors are therefore the only line of defense.
In fairness, I would have liked to see some details on like how they came to the conclusion, because don't get me wrong, the infectivity rate and not necessarily lethality but mutation rate is something you would want to be concerned about.
However, like the average person doesn't care, and that's the thing. The doctors are very obsessed with this. They are absolutely obsessed with hygiene. They're basically Frank Reynolds. I want to be pure. And in fact, they do describe their they have a whole ritual of hygienics. First comes the enema,
Well, no,
then
you
hydration.
you're going into hygienics. You forget the part where they also release more nanomachines.
Where?
The festering. They triumphed over the spore field but created the festering.
Ah,
Don't know what that is. This is the first time I think it seriously got brought up. This was probably a meta plot thing. This would have probably been something they tried to suppress if they actually got into further details, but They never got around to it because, well, they weren't the best at actually running an RPG studio.
So back to how they describe to cleanse yourself. You get an enema, hydration with several liters of water, which is at least ingested orally. Then whole body shaving, disinfecting in a vile brew that burns the skin, rends the eyes. It is checked by hygienists and excrements checked, and pretty much everything is checked top to bottom to make sure you are not infected in the slightest. And I'm pretty sure if there you are, you're dead.
Yeah, so some issues I have is that the hygienics specifically come from the hive epidemic, which admittedly is where the order first kind of came about somewhat. But in my opinion, I think this should have evolved naturally due to the effects of sepsis. I think that
It
would
is.
make
It
more
is.
sense. Well,
It's
no, they literally describe that it's from when those they
first the
abandoned the
hive,
hive.
yeah.
No. They already had this, and then the sepsis occurs. Like they already did this before then. That's my complaint. Like that's my mild complaint. I will also complain a little bit more since these guys are relatively scientifically advanced. They should at least be somewhat aware of the effects of overwashing. They should be, but they're not. You could
Yeah.
describe it as lost knowledge, which hey,
I
I'm okay with.
I
It's just
think you
something that I would bring up.
I think you can describe it as
I think it's trying to be over the top and edgy
over the
specifically.
top and ritual now becoming tradition and following it to the letter.
Which, hey, that's fair. That's similar to how tech priests work in 40K, where the rites of opening and other things are basically just running passwords without really understanding what they mean.
So
I,
the
I am
the
giving
spita-
credit. It's just I'm
yeah,
pointing out, like, I'm being a little because this is where their wheelhouse is.
yeah. So if the Spitalians are completely obsessed with it, when they learned that like insects can carry spores, they fucking panicked. They had glowing wires set up in villages to lure moths to a blinding death, killing all ants, killing all, flies, anything that could
The
spread it.
poison bait's not a bad pick, but honestly, if you're gonna try to get rid of insects, I'd go for the smoke approach. It's like one of the most basic methods to get rid of insects.
And they're also very much in the direct approaches. They say 10,000 doctors have sacrificed themselves on the altar of science, contaminated by spores, intoxicated by pheromones, driven insane by Dushani chants, broken by the bionetics, crushed by the psychokinetics. They have died for this. But truth be told, they are the line of defense. They know how to fight this thing, and they have done so very successfully in Borca. The problem is also that their obsession does piss a lot of people off. They will get in the way of the Anabaptists, they'll get in the way of the judges, um, and anyone who actually traffics this stuff, like what the apocalyptics do, it basically is kill on sight. Though, despite this, they also do work, like actual medical work. At the Spital, people do come there for medical care, and they do. They diagnose people's problems and treat them. So it's not just fighting the primer. They do work. Like they say for recruits,
There's a
they'll
funny
learn.
shit post where they talk about how they store their own piss that they have to monitor.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I just had to point that out because it is something that is actually done in field work cases, usually more for extreme environment cases. It's just something that's really fucking goofy. But yeah, orderlies are suffering.
And as they develop more and gain more skills, they'll go into different careers and different paths. Either, you know, as they call them, surgeons, epigeneticists, pharmacists, hygienists, anesthesiologists, which are the actual careers, and well, they
Oh,
do
we're,
what they
we're, we're
say.
going to the ranks specifically? Oh, I
Well,
thought I wasn't
go.
sure.
I'm going to and from.
So yeah, the
And
average career run, you start as a recruit, and then you just kind of learn the basics of everything, and then you, I believe, specialize later on in a specific field.
though the ones who actually go out and fight, like the primer, which to be honest is probably gonna be most players, preservists. They These are the ones that will actually go out with a sword and what they have is a splayer, which is a spear that has a primer sort of. It's called a malus. It's something that's enriched in the primer, so it's a detection method. So it activates when you're near anything that has spores.
Which,
Um,
if you're wondering, that is actually in the second book, and there is
well,
no helpful guide. No, it is. They go into unique gear for the
yeah, they
cults,
do, but they describe the mollusks earlier on about.
which is garbage book design, because we're not going to see this until about, I don't know, a couple hundred pages after this point, and they don't reference it in the next book. Yes, they also weaponized it. They've also invented a nanomachine thing called the Festering, which is fucking up the world too.
Um,
It's pretty
and they
great.
have obviously they have their own experiments, their own work that they do within their spital. Uh, as actually this inner ring, the corpus as it's called, they test diseases on animals.
By the way, if you're
And
wondering, the outer ring is the appendix, which is where you make arrival and diagnosis and stuff like that. It's
yeah,
basically just sick bays. Them
and
calling it the appendix and calling it worthless is kind of funny, given that the appendix originally did have a function in the body. It is not something I'd probably recommend. You could call it the spleen, which is also worthless, but has a similar function. I would have called it the spleen. I know that sounds goofy, but you could have probably picked some really fancy Latin name for the spleen.
yeah. And again, as they're describing the purification ritual, they have the disinfecting bath, takes a bag of shrink wrapped clothing, tears it open, puts on the white linen top and pants. Equipment we clean and stored for him. Um, every
I feel like they just had the concept of neat freak killer doctors, and that's all they had to work with.
I'd say so, but it's an interesting concept nonetheless.
It's the beginning of an interesting concept. It is the halfway mark to a good concept. Because
And
they don't really specify, like, here's the other thing. You know what you could have easily done to make them more interesting? What are the schools of philosophy each of the battalions have? Because you could base it on different fragments of the oath of the hippo. Because they don't
interesting.
know Hippocrates, they don't know the Hippocratic oath. Hippocrates, they don't remember his full name, so you can call it the oath of the hippo or something. And then you can
I,
have them argue over which element of it is more important.
I think that the thing is that they do develop like certain ways of like how they view the primer. In fact, there's one doctor who he went missing, and then he came back and started saying about how great the primer is and how we should let it expand. And then they found another version of him, and another, and another.
It's probably Dr. Vasco since he's the hermit.
Yep. Um,
I just kind of skimmed ahead a little bit just
yeah.
to kind of show who he
I
looks
do
like.
think taking a look at like how they style their hierarchy and ranks, because that I think is good visual design.
This is a good use of visual design. They still are wasting white space in doing this, but this is something that I really do like in terms of class buildup. And this is actually something that is one of the big reasons I like the Warhammer Fantasy tabletop game, because this is something that it also does. What this book does that I like more than the Warhammer Fantasy game does is they specify exactly how things work. And they also have outside people like
Yeah.
village docs and elders.
Which are more sort of literal end stages. There are also these ranks, like the final ones, like provost and consultant. A provost is the leader of the preservists, so essentially they're general. The consultants are the actual leaders of the battalions. As I say, there's only 8 consultants, so the only way that if you ever ascend that rank, is if one of them dies.
Which on the one hand is nice, on the other hand, because it's all filled up, well, shit.
And then they do give us a wonderful stereotypes,
which
which is
is
how they
stolen beat for beat from the World of Darkness.
it just works. Um, like for the uh, apocalyptics, they carry sepsis into the cities purely for their own desires, with no regard for the consequences. Not all of them are bad. Some make good messengers. But if the war has taught us one thing, it's that sometimes innocents have to burn to fight a potential danger.
Okay. I'm going to be blunt. The tone and style of how they write the stereotypes are mediocre.
Maybe for this one, yeah, I feel like
It's
it
for
could have
this one.
been done a bit sharper.
If the other ones have stronger elements. By the way,
Mhm.
I like the Lovecraftian moments of calling the Africans black devils. Very good, very cool.
Well, no, like the Neoliberals. The chroniclers say the blacks eat children.
Don't you love how this book did
We
this?
cannot confirm this. In Quabus, they're on their best behavior. They love their land and they're worried. Somehow, that makes them our brothers. I just like how the chroniclers, who are the ones who are like tapping the internet, are just like they're eating the people. They're cannibals.
I love the idea that they're doing this as a shit post.
They definitely could be.
You're saying that, but you're providing details that the book itself doesn't want to provide. So I feel like you're giving more to the book than it actually gives.
And I do
Honestly, yeah, I feel like it's just very weak compared to how the World of Darkness handles it.
Yeah, I do like the character write-ups though. They
That's a
give
fucking.
us
We got actual fucking soy jack.
yeah.
Rejected character concept from some 2005 experimental first-person shooter game that plays with sci-fi, and Chudman. Billions must die.
Was it Nikolai Warshek? He is a preservist. He does suffer from burn addiction though, and he's hiding it from his subordinates.
I
We
mean,
have Alma.
given how much they have to test your piss, I think he would have pissed hot and had a bullet in his head by now.
However, he's not reporting back to the Spital.
That
He's
doesn't
he's
matter.
on the
If
front.
they're that
Nope.
paranoid, if they're that fucking paranoid, I'm gonna disagree with this.
And he's the one in charge.
No, not with how they established the cult. It doesn't fit.
He could also maybe say, well, that's just from like Outer. In fact, there's probably ways that you can fake
There
it.
are ways you can, but what they did was they made this character with the dark secret without remembering just how fucking stringent they are with hygiene and in drug testing. Because of their hyper focus on this group having that, they have therefore fucked up this character, which is a very simple concept, but they fucked it up because of the emphasis they put on it.
But I mean, that has to be a part. Like the guys that are obsessed with purity, one of them's corrupt. I mean, it's like an inquisitor
It's the bare
in
minimum
40K.
of what
It's
I'd expect
yeah.
in a story, yes. It's just they fucked it up. I'm not expecting 1,000,000% competence. I can expect cheating the trials by basically just, fabricating the reports since you're the lead. If they made him, do they describe who's the people that test all the fucking urine and shit?
I think it's the hygienists.
If they made him if they ranked him as a hygienist, I'd be okay with it. But he's not. In fact, actually, the thing I hate most is because he's a preservist. Do you want to know why they made him that specifically? It's because they're completely outside of the circle.
Yes, well, it says the Preservist Corps does not take orders from hypocrites, consuls, or elders. It forms its own group within the Spital.
Which
It's
I
indi-
think is a cop out. I personally think that's a bit of a cop out because they had this character idea. They wanted to do the basic, aha, they're corrupt actually. Yeah, if he was a hygienist, that'd be fine. I have a problem with this.
yeah. Well, let's move on then to the next
Also,
guys.
keep in mind. Also, here's another thing. The German made the Slavic man a fucking drug addict. Not only a Slav, a Polish person. Now, don't get me wrong, that's at least thankfully not the stereotype. The true stereotype is that you can pay them literally in pennies and they'll fucking build and do everything and basically break their bones trying to fucking do it for you. Anyway,
But
then
moving.
you got a Russian lady.
Mhm. And Hernez Vasco, who is said to have made a deal with the devil, or a devil's pact with the Primer itself,
Oh, and if you're wondering, she's the standard Black Widow, a Russian assassin lady. So okay,
even though she's German.
Martinova. No, she's not.
Well, descendant then, most likely. As she said, she was transferred to Sioux France for disciplinary reasons after she refused to lead an attack on a Borken Lepros enclave. Lepros are those infected with the Primer.
Okay.
She has then become part of Franca's resistance, organizing assassinations of Ferromancers or their flunkies.
Oh wow, they dug out two fucking basic tropes. They dug out the Russian assassin lady, and they dug out the French resistance lady that you commonly see in World War II films. Jesus Christ.
I mean, the major clan for France is just called the Resistance.
I know, I'm just pointing that out.
But onto the chroniclers.
They look
So,
cool, but don't worry, they're about to fuck it up and ruin it all for you.
well, so these
Prepare to
guys.
be disappointed!
So before the Eschaton, they call themselves streamers.
So,
They were a movement of like-minded people than an organized group. They continuously followed.
these are formed by the remnants of like Ethan Ralph and XQC and fucking Hassan Piker and maybe Medicare before he drops dead from his cancer AIDS. Maybe he was the founder of these fuckers. I don't
a,
know.
a, a contingent of them are just VTubers.
Probably like yeah, that sounds about right. So
So that
the
they never
absolute scum of the earth.
they never touched grass. They're well, not they're nerds.
I mean, look at this guy. He looks like he lives at a den of filth. So it fits. I think it fits.
This is Asmongold's hazmat suit.
That's actually Asmongold after the nanomachine injections. He's still around. He still streams to no one.
So yeah, data completely collapses, and everything's turned back to the Stone Age. However, they could sort of rebuild the stream. They could
I don't know
build
how.
something. Essentially, it's not an internet then. It's more, I guess, an intranet.
That still doesn't
Or
mean. Okay, so an intranet is basically a hard-lined internal system. Streamers would not be touching that. Basic systems engineers, sysads, running from the military would have been the founding fathers of these people. They did not think this through.
I guess it's
There's also the matter that if a meteor fucking smashes into your planet and destroys, what would the effects be on the communication satellites and the wireless transmission? Because a lot of those would also come down. On top of that,
they
the
would.
fiber
How
optic cables would be fucking destroyed, and on top of that, so many basic beacons would be destroyed, and on top of that, a lot of the tech experts would probably be fucking dead. And I'm sorry, but there is no way in hell I could believe a streamer to be capable of not only setting up a server farm, but also setting up a fucking transmitter
well
using
they did.
engineering skills that they somehow have.
They did. As they said, they collected user manual, storage devices, circuit boards, server
Very
stacks.
convenient that they were able to get their hands on this and it didn't all set on fire from the nuclear holocaust caused by a giant meteor slamming into Europe.
It was in the year of 2102 where they founded a central cluster in a freight yard and electrified the installation's digital heart.
Oh god.
A
Okay, so it's
static
very
stream was
clear these
back
people are
online.
not actual techies. This is going to be funny.
Yeah.
I
But
wish
all the
I wish
screencasts that
Deck
might
Priest was here.
shed
It'd be
some
funny.
light on the circumstance are hidden behind cascades of passwords. No one knows the reason. Presumably, the last authorized chronicler died centuries ago. So yeah, they have a stream set up. However, a bunch of information is blocked behind passwords, of which they have no idea what they are. They did build a community though to reactivate the stream, get the knowledge that's from it, because essentially it would be tapping into the collective knowledge of human. of human history, and
Which I can
imagine
understand. The problem is they're calling them streamers, which is their fancy way of saying internet. But because of their
because it
doing
was
that, I'm
yeah.
envisioning little fucking sweaty goblin people in their filthy rooms being like ordering people to build like clap-trapped fucking wireless transmitters and stuff, and it's just awful. This is terrible. I don't like them.
So
So actually,
they did
wait, a bunch of streamers. So when do they start forming fake boxing matches that they rig for money?
well soon. So they
What?
set up their stream in the cathedral in Cologne.
How many of them? Also, how many of them should be arrested for horrible, horrible things?
Well, good news. The Anabaptists showed up in 2148 and stormed the church and burned it all down. The chroniclers fled because of that, uh, seeing that the achievements of the bygones had fallen prey to human stupidity. What it showed for the chroniclers is that
Oh god,
the
in that moment they became euphoric. I'm just now envisioning these motherfuckers wearing goddamn fedora. The more I hear about them, the more I hate them.
the more I like them just because here's what they realized. Okay, we need to show that we have power and that we're not just some dumb nerds in our basements gooning and just reading a bunch of inane shit. So they realized they had to show themselves as mysterious. So, shards of mirrored glass added to their robes, a modular amp distorts their voices. The cultists now look and sounded like irate gods. And they also used the fact that they had this access to technology to get people to protect them or not kill them. They created a currency. They created what's called chronicler drafts.
Yeah, script,
Uh,
basic script. I don't know why it's
base
paper based. It shouldn't be.
well, there's barcodes on it,
That
so it's
doesn't mean anything. Wait, because they also did data mining. Not only are these awful fucking
cryptocurrency.
streamers, no, not only are they trash streamers, they're fucking crypto bro. Oh, I hate them even more. The concept, by the way, the best part about this is the concept of a bunch of nerds basically restarting technology. That's fine. Because guess what? That's Comstar. That's what the tech priests were. But they
Well, though
fucked this up.
it's a bunch of nerds that realize we have to LARP as tech priests.
Oh, that's embarrassing.
I find that funny.
The concept is amusing, but it intrinsically ruins them as a clan for me, as a cult.
Well, the thing is, they do have access to like act. They are the ones that actually know technology. They have access to
You're
actual
saying that, but
technological information.
it's like
At,
that bit in Star Trek: The Next Generation where the where Picard's like, yeah, and after that, the only thing I'll see you as is that scared little boy. It doesn't matter how fucking badass you make them, because now at the end of the day, I'm just envisioning XQC wearing a fucking Guy Fawkes mask, going, "Wow, chat, crazy, super crazy, chat, crazy." And because of that, I can't take these fucking goblins seriously anymore.
well, the thing is, all of this works though. It just works. As
This
one of
is like the trolls from The Hobbit.
as one of their founders said, I was with the chess club,
It's the
and
terminology, yeah. It's the
yeah,
terminology and just the way it's written. This is bad.
because they connected themselves to the ruling class. They became the means for scrappers and other traders to make a living. Uh, the one thing they needed, though, was obviously how to bolster their ranks. Here's how they did it: autistic children. I'm I'm serious. They have an agreement with the Spitalians that allows them to take children that the doctors diagnose as autistic and bring them into the cult.
Oh god, they're just gonna fucking poop everywhere and talk about My Little Pony. This is, the more you read, the more I hate them. I actually think I might be hating them more than the Africans, and that's saying a lot.
They also take, obviously, children with imagination, interests in the bygone writings. If they pass their logic tests, they're given a mentor, taking care of them,
This makes the
training them.
Brotherhood of Steel look competent. Holy shit.
Yes. Um, then they get their first update. After every update, their responsibilities change, and it is understood that they move into different security areas within the cluster.
Well, you don't understand, Squirrel Killer. You don't understand the power of our uber autism, says the
Yeah.
creator of this book.
They
They
speak the
fell they
same.
fell for the movie thing where it's like, oh yeah, autistic kids are like super powered, right? I guess I don't fucking know.
They have a barcode on their forehead, linking them to many databases of their computer systems, which registers and constantly updates everyone's value to the cluster.
This
The
sucks.
the cult does not believe in chance. Human life is considered predetermined and expressed in an equation.
This sucks. I'm
The
trying. I'm honestly trying. It's just they fucked it up. They fucked up like the most basic thing you can do, which is making a cult based on fucking nerds. How do you do that? How do you fuck that up?
I don't see how this is a fuck up. I really don't.
Oh yeah, just like XQC and a bunch of autistic nonverbal children like flopping on the floor, flapping their arms. Nothing but victories here. Nothing but up and ups.
I
Uh,
like they say communication between the chroniclers is focused on information free of idioms and full of ancient computer commands.
Mainly because the
Syntax.
writers don't know shit about programming at all. They are not
Yeah,
IT, and you can tell they are not IT.
they are
If
not.
they are not, and they are trying to. This is like this is the most 80s Hollywood executive going, well, I need to figure out how to get the hacker to do the hacking stuff on the what's that thing they call it, the big internet, the tubes. I need him to hack the tubes, and then he does like 5 rails of coke. That's them. That's their understanding of IT. Oh god, they even make one of the major movers and shakers look like the type of dude who'd be on a watch list. Mm.
Which guy?
On page 166. He's looking at the robot skull, who is, I guess, staring in disgust back at him.
Could be.
Oh, I just realized he's literally wearing Isaac Clarke's Dead Space engineer uniform.
Oh, you're right. It is kind of like the rig.
No, it,
Ki
it, it literally looks like the rig, other than some
I don't even
minor
know. I think that might
addendums.
just be his mask that he wears.
How do you fuck this up?
I do like because the idea of we have to make ourselves appear like obscure. They're not. It is like nerds pretending to be mystic monks.
So
And
here's my next problem with that then. By this logic, why are this battalions completely degenerated despite actually having more technical and basic medical knowledge than they would have? Why did they degenerate while these pieces of shit didn't?
well, no, they have. It says like they are locked out of their stream. Can't. They're taking the
Look,
technology that
I know they're
people
still
give them.
salty about their Rule 34 collection, but no, the fact is they're still basically nerds LARPing, and they're still doing that. It is it.
They're but now they genuinely believe it. They as it says, they straight up believe in predeterminism because they're just completely computer obsessed.
Are you sure? Are you sure it's not because they're hanging out with Anabaptists? Because that's like some Calvinist thinking right there.
No, because the Anabaptists think that they're evil.
Of course they do.
Well, as I say, Anabaptists see them as a necessary evil. Someone must dig up the technological corruption that can be attributed to the demiurge.
Oh, by the way, I like how on page 168 they waste one half of a whole page on this random jibber jabber.
Yeah.
I think I've actually generated this character in AI art before. This particular character on 169.
Uh, but I mean, like, they also have powerful technology. They outright, with their, as they call it, streamer gloves, dispense electrical shocks. They have voice modulators. They have the ability to just print money on demand.
It's the part where they also control the money completely. Like they're both like that kind of. I get it because if you actually take like our current society and chart how much tech kind of dominates everything, like yeah, it makes sense, but this was framed so poorly for me that I just cannot take them seriously.
Well, moving on then to their
Virginal
rank.
score of 0 points. Virginal score
Wait, where?
in the rank levels, bits. Virginal score. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't think that score is gonna go above 0. I'm sorry, man.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, unless you pay for it like what the other ones do.
But they then become an agent and then can split off into being a mediator, which travels between clusters, delivers messages, um, uh, or they can go into the shutter, which are agents that actively go outside and interact with the world. And by that means killing things that are problems for the cult.
Since these are based on like tech nerds, you'd think they would base it more on like actual terms from IT.
Yeah, but all those tech nerds are dead.
So
It's
how are
500
they?
years later.
So how are they able to? Well, here's the thing: since they set up the organization anyway, and they have at least the caveman knowledge of it, why aren't they using any of it?
Maybe they have a term within their language that does say it, and this is the one we know. But I mean, it's, I guess, more. I don't know. I really do not know.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with Squirrel Killer. Like it's the beginning of a good concept because I've seen it in so many other settings. It's not even funny. Comstar is this. The Tech Priests are this. It is so fucking common when it comes to post-apocalypse. Brotherhood of Steel, you name it, it exists. It is the basic concept, and they fucked it up. They fucked up introducing it. I know you like it, but to me, all I'm seeing is just like imagine some greasy fat. Imagine a greasy fat, horrible fucking goblin sitting on a pile of junk, rocking back and forth, covered in their shit, wearing a fucking Guy Fawkes mask, talking about I don't know owning the chuds, and the chuds being the Anabaptists. That is what I'm seeing, and while that's funny, that absolutely skull fucks the seriousness of the setting. And this setting is not trying to be a comedy.
I can okay, I can see that.
That's the problem. If this was going for comedic, I'd be fine with it. This is going for serious, and they fucked it up. Oh, also the stereotypes are again written very impersonably, rather than from the
No,
point of view of someone with horrible social skills.
no, well, i- like for the apocalyptics, communication problems. Their agenda is indecipherable. Assumption, meaningless structures, and confusing way of life. Potentially mad.
Yeah, but
Very
that's the only
short,
time.
very short to the point. Well, no, it's like um, what they say the Anubians, Africans, likely Egyptian
You're
origin.
nitpicking. Compare it to the Anabaptist and Clanners, where they're not written like that at all.
I think that can tell you then that they have a more personal relationship with those factions rather than
I think it's because they couldn't keep the tone throughout the whole thing because they couldn't figure out how to write from the point of view of a fat man covered in his own shit wearing a Guy Fawkes mask. I'm sorry, that's just how I see them. I can't take them seriously. Also, again, more fun racism. The Olympians are the virus in the system.
well, yeah, because they steal their shit.
Well, yeah, I'm just pointing out that it's kind of funny. Also, warning: the Scourgers will actually bully them to death. Yeah, the writing in this book is rather underwhelming.
I thought it was fair.
So far, there's one competent one, and then this one completely eats shit. So that's a half a point out of two so far. Well, no, I'm being a bit mean.
Oh
Point
no, no,
0.7
no.
points out of two.
We should look at the personalities, especially Outlook. The chroniclers sent him to Aquitaine to raise the artifact harvest in the Franken swamps. Raise it Outlook did, gathering anything and everything he could get his hands on, but most of the relics did not find their way to the chroniclers' tables in Justitian. He sells them to the apocalyptics, who in turn supply young boys to sate his carnal desires.
Also, he's a streamer, so you know your average fucking major streamer.
So
Okay,
he's an
moving on.
actual streamer. He is
Moving
an
on.
actual.
Oh,
Next up,
hey,
the
look, it's a rejected character concept for Looter Shooter number 575 that had a live lobby concept that they had to get rid of. Nice lobster arm, bro.
so these are the Helvetics, and so this when the apocalypse was coming, the Swiss built a bunch of bunkers for them,
I mean, they already
only for
had
the Swiss,
bunkers.
even bigger ones. They sent out a contingent of career soldiers to the bunkers, over 2,000 men and women. Uh, and, well, then the apocalypse happened. And, well, the Reaper's Blow, which I believe was a direct hit from asteroids, split the Alps like a divine axe blow. Mountains broke open, stone avalanches splintered from the breaking point. The fortresses were wounded, and, for instance, access gates were caved in. Uh,
Not just access gates. I mean, if it hit hard enough, because remember that big fuck off canyon that rips through Borca and Franca or whatever? Yeah, that comes dangerously close to them. I would actually argue that most of those bunkers should have collapsed. Now, the thing is,
most
since,
of them.
well, no, here's the thing. Some of them might have survived, and that's why them surviving isn't unreasonable. If they put that much effort into building these super death fortresses. It split the Alps directly. No, they're dead. No, no. I just read that the Reapers. No, no, no. So these people legitimately should be canonically dead within the first fucking page of their backstory.
However, they survived.
Because the plot needed them to, because they wanted super Swiss, because
Yeah.
they did not fucking think through what would happen if you smash into the Alps with a fucking monstrous asteroid the size of fucking the one that killed the dinosaurs,
Hey,
which created
I've
a
got.
crater that's like 30 fucking miles across and atomized the air.
Hey, if that's the case, I've got a bunch of new writers that Bethesda can use for its next Fallout game.
You know, the best part is I actually think they could hire these guys and they do an okay job.
Yeah.
Not really, because they'd completely fail the writing point. They would just you would ask them to do like a 5-minute PowerPoint on a basic mechanic, and then they would waste 30 minutes talking about how that wrench was made in the forges of like some random piece of shit garbage place in Georgia.
Well, I can see how war never changes. Though it does in some cases when you think about it in terms of
They were
technological
unwilling to give up on
advancements.
comrades and civilians. Let's get to the part where the civilians were forced to stay outside as they died. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they totally care.
Well, they decided to have a strict rationing plan. The commanders would guarantee their own safety and then have their units, check for quality control.
I think my favorite is the fortresses legitimately actually did fucking melt and they somehow survived because they mentioned that they needed asbestos suits to barely survive. See what I mean about them? Like, this literally makes no sense for why they would be around.
Yeah, when I first read, I didn't really think of that.
That's the best. It's like, that's the thing. Your brain will ignore some of the stupider moments. Because here's the thing conceptually, them being the remnants of like the last army that survived in the world, I'm okay with that. Switzerland doing this makes sense because of their high conscription rate. It's not unreasonable. They do have mountain fortresses. The problem is, out of all of the places for the meteor to smash into, it smashed into the fucking Alps. You know, where Switzerland is located.
Maybe those bunkers were just that good.
Now, if they now here's the thing: if they had the meteor slam right into, let's say, Corpse, Sardinia, Corsica, I wouldn't complain. Like the Reaper's
I think
Fault where
they,
it rips the Alps in half. If
yeah,
that happened because of the meteor hitting Corpse, sure, I don't
I,
care.
I think it.
No, it didn't. No, it specifically says it split the Alps. So no, no. That
So,
meteor dug right through the Alps, man.
so they have, regardless of the improbability of them surviving, their outlook on life is defined by their doctrine of preserving resources and protecting the people,
Oh, we're
whether
just
they
we're ju-
want
we're
it or
just
not.
time skipping through their history. So, like from hell to
Well, no,
hell
we,
and
we
fast forward.
yeah, we're going to, from hell to hell.
Okay.
Um, they and I mean they did their job. They brought the people, I guess, back in, celebrated the Helvetics as their savior, using their Sauger 11 assault rifles, what is known as a Trailblazer. It is a tri-barreled assault rifle with a 5.45 millimeter cartridge.
Let me
Or
take a
not
look. Are
cartridge.
we actually going to Gunsburg? Because I can totally mock this. Where is this?
Mock. That's in the second book, but mock it anyway.
The Trailblazer. Okay, so it's tri-barreled. Why? That's more weight. That's more weight, and an
Because you can
assault
put a
rifle is very
bayonet on
basic.
one of them.
An
I'm
average
not.
an average AK literally does that, and an average M16 also allows that. It's one of the first things that a service rifle actually fucking mandates.
I
That
think it
is not
also has
impressive.
some sci-fi sort of mumbo jumbo thing that I guess helps it be maybe more accurate or
Also
modular.
5.45. Don't get me wrong. That's not an unreasonable cartridge size for what you're gonna want. I see little reason to be charitable for the most part because of the amount of hand waving. Um, I'm willing to hand wave on matters of magic because that's mostly seeming to be nanomachines and aliens. I will complain that the Swiss should be dead. Also, they care so much about their civilians that they left them dead for years, which is pretty great.
Though they did turn those asbestos suits into power armor
That's not how that
harnesses.
works. Also, haha, gotta be edgy, gotta use the cancer causing suits, even though that's not how it fucking works.
Though no, I could see this being a. I see a bit of Warhammer in this of how like the Terminator suits were
Not
actually
implied. The system, it's
miners'
never been
gear.
implied what the old world was like before the apocalypse ended. I mean, there's little hints of like
No, no, no,
evil
no, no.
Elon Musk,
What
but
Terminator? No, no. What the Terminator suits actually were. I believe they described it with the Space Hulks. They were like deep mining or something like that. They were not standard military. They
no,
became that.
they clearly were military. Although the suits may not have been. The suits, for some reason, they have these asbestos suits capable of surviving magma. I I don't know why they thought because the Alps doesn't actually have a history of volcanism. I don't know why they had them in the first
Asteroid.
place.
Oh, it's yeah.
That
Well,
doesn't no no
actually,
no. If
no.
the asteroid melts your fucking fortress, you're already dead. You are a corpse. You are burned to ash and
Wait,
dead.
what if the entire fortress is lined with asbestos?
The amount of mesothelioma these motherfuckers go through. Ah, God.
However, they very much profit
If
because
you told me that it evolved from mining suits, like deep mining, like deep bore mantle mining, I could understand. If they explained it like that, I would be fine with that. Them being made from asbestos, no. Not if you have advanced technology, no. That is horseshit.
So the cantons are, the Swiss are still thriving
So here's my
because
question: do the military even understand how the canton system works, or is it just assumed that it doesn't matter?
is it in the doctrine?
Carry my trade laser for it's the only thing that stands between me and blah blah blah. I'm da 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 da. Oh, okay. So they're basically space. They're basically Neo Prussia. Got it.
Yep.
They're an army with a state. They don't know anything. I think that's because having a functional society like Helvetica being a thing, that would require them to think about politics, and these people struggle to understand the basics of like how to make a basic cult. I think countries are a bit beyond them.
Also, I have a feeling this faction was made for this one single sentence. The Helvetics refused to give up their neutrality. I think that's supposed to be the summary of it, which
Okay,
is
so they're just gonna sit there in their fortresses. Okay.
and make a shit ton of money because people need to cross over into Borca, and they're pretty much the only way to do it.
By the way, a little bit of a gratuitous side shot. They really wanted to. They put a lot of money into this one to render the suit.
As you can see, all of the suit.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm kind of just like, wow. It's really impressive. That a that they're this bad. That they're this fucking incompetent in the thing that's supposed to be their thing. So
And
they
they're ma
eventually relapse.
the um,
They
relapse
lose
being
Prague due to Chernobog, which is powered by nanomachines. And something I thought about because from last week is the nanomachines is just them stealing from fucking Metal Gear Solid. Just to let you know. In fact,
nanomachines, son.
one of the cults is literally just a cult of vamps. Just we was Kangs. We'll get into them.
They're also like very obsessed with austerity because they can't produce any of their weapons. I mean, not on any mass level. So
Okay, so here since they're austere and very seriously poor, even though they make buku bucks like fucking hell.
well, they make buku bucks, but
No,
they can't make their ammo.
here's my very important question. Do they eat cats again? Because Switzerland was one of the few European countries that ate cats.
I don't know. They
Do they
might.
eat cats again?
If it's, I'm
They
assuming
also
because of
ate
the
dog.
military obsession. If they're in, are they able to be in MREs?
So, do you want to know why I'm asking? Because here's the thing. Switzerland for the longest of times was one of the poorest regions of Europe. The reason being, it is highly mountainous. Farming and agriculture is not something they're particularly capable of doing in these alpine valleys, not easily and not in the numbers needed. And on top of that, they were not easily connected to other major power bases because they were all individual little counties and cantons that rejected the authorities of the HRE in France. They were extremely poor, and there's a reason why the Swiss became noted mercenaries during the medieval period. It wasn't until they got into banking that their country started to turn around. Also, since these guys started from the military, them struggling to recreate their weapons, I'm mostly fine with since they evolved from the military.
They just don't have the manufacturing capabilities.
Although I will counter that by saying they could probably make a Trailblazer duplicate that works similarly fine, even if the material sciences aren't as good. Do you,
Perhaps.
and no, I'm saying that because specifically, here's my rebuttal. Kalashnikov was a literal dude who was in the Russian military who just kind of fucked around with other guns before he made his AK-47. A gunsmith could pretty reliably make a duplication of it, even if it's not as good.
Though I can, I
Now their
can.
power armor, sure, I'm fine with them
Yeah.
not being able to recreate that. Like that would require specialized factories and robotics, I think.
So I think I see here though a reason why they use that Trailblazer. They have a socket at the base of the receiver that can be accessed via computer port, which details the number of shots fired, the rate of fire,
Their guns
or
are
any overheating by
computerized.
continuous rate. Yes,
What a joke! Do you? Oh God, that's so stupid. That's awful. That's fucking dumb. It's oh God, just like, can it even fire if the computer system's broken?
I don't know.
Because
Well,
depending on
here's the
how
thing:
they design it, it
if
might
you
not.
broke it, listen, if you broke it, you're fucked.
No,
Like
no, you don't understand because
you might as well get killed because probably what will happen to you if you have deliberately or accidentally destroyed a piece of military equipment is a fate worse than death.
even though basic wear and tear constantly, like, you don't understand, basic wear and tear will actually completely fuck up any computer systems internally. It's one of the reasons why tractor attempts to get tractors that are computerized to farmers failed, because of wear and tear due to outside conditions. If the computer system is important enough to track the number of shots and biometrics, they better hope that they did not also attach its safety protocols to it, meaning that if the computer's dead, it legitimately cannot fire.
I don't believe they have that, but they do not say
Because that is a
otherwise.
concept. That is a concept in firearms that has been brought up more than once. I am very curious on if they do this or if they thought it through. I don't think they did, given that they also made this son of a bitch gun a tri-barreled monstrosity.
It is all a means just to record resources and to determine how proficient these soldiers are. And obviously, the more proficient, the less resources wasted, the higher they will go up in rank.
I Oh God, I mean, oh God, the bean counters are that awful.
Yes.
That's lame.
The Helvetics have neither a functioning agricultural system nor a natural resource to exploit or trade.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Now, I said the Helvetics. The people in Switzerland, different. If a section suffers from lack of food, parts of the troops are rented out as mercenaries.
So they are just copying what I would have done. They have proceeded. Congratulations, they have done in 20 pages what I could have done in about 10. Do you want to know why? Because Swiss mercenaries are literally the first fucking thing you think of if you're going to plunder from history. It is the very first thing you would fucking think of. The only thing I'm grateful for is that they were not lazy enough to make them pikemen, because that is
Uh,
what they were masters of in the medieval period.
what
Oh,
would you consider a the ability to put a bayonet on that rifle?
you could, but I'm going to not get angry about that because that is literally one of the many things that a main service rifle should be able to do. If you have
On
to
one of the
get into
barrels.
that is a design failure. And whoever I I bet it's evil Elon Musk. I bet it's that evil Elon Musk character that's behind every fucking plot in this meta setting that
Oh,
decided that
oh,
gun.
speaking of that, possibly one of those long-lived people, the Marauders, Triglaw, he may have been the one that gave the Swiss their asbestos suits. Moving on, we're going into
I
the
mean,
ranks.
there's the ranks. Let's see. Do they understand the basic concept of ranks? Okay, soldier, sure. That's called a private. Then corporal, fair enough.
They say first grade's a private and lance corporal. Then it goes to corporal, followed by constable and field officer.
Also, if you're wondering, this should just be this entire section here would be specialist. And no, they don't understand basic military structure. Oh my fucking god, just die. Okay, moving on. Oh wait, no. Let's see. Did they even bother? Nope, they didn't really even try. They
How
did
so?
they did with the Jihemedans for the stereotypes, but that's like the only time they tried. And the Palers, I
Well,
guess. On to the Cowboys.
actually,
And
wait. Yeah, there's the I think there's their Trailblazer.
yeah,
Oh, look, they even have a little screen that gives you the time
I loathe this gun.
in AM PM.
I loathe this weapon.
Oh God,
Oh,
it's it.
I detest their bayonet design, by the way.
Oh, that is.
This is terrible on every level. Also, how do you hold this piece of shit? How do you hold this piece of shit? Where do you hold this son of a bitch? There's no gripping point. It is massively forward heavy. Oh my fucking god! This makes the Cyberpunk 2020 guns that Pondsmith scribbled look good. And that dude didn't know how to draw! Yeah, the Swiss don't use AM and PM. Also, the military uses 2400 as a system, universal military time system. Every aspect of this is incorrect. This is massively fucking terrible.
Well then, on to the next one. The judges.
So that's a fit. Okay, so let me be fair. We have covered 3 clans so far. I would rate the Spitalans at a zero point 0.7 out of 1. The Nerds as a zero point 0.2 out of 1 because they're fucking horrible. These guys are a zero point 0.5 because they should not exist, and their gun is the worst thing I have ever seen in my life. I know that's arbitrary, but I have to point that out. So they're at like we've covered 3, and they're like at 1.5 actually things worth it. Oh hey,
So
look, it's the Witch Hunters, aka Cowboys, because of the dusters. These look like cowboys
yeah,
to me.
I have a feeling a German guy picked up
They picked up
a
a copy
copy
of
of
Warhammer
2000.
Fantasy.
No, of 2000 AD with a Judge Dredd portion, and then I guess probably a Western portion, and said, "Oh, that'll do."
Oh no, this is you could make fun of this by saying, "Oh look who stole the concept of witch hunters from Warhammer 40K and tried to file the letters off." You could
No, that
also
they are.
say, "Who let the cowboys out?"
Yeah. So it starts with a man called the Judge. In the year 2381, he approached a clanner that was left behind after a raid on a village in Bochum. He recited his crimes, theft being the smallest among them, led him to the executioner's block, fixed the delinquent's head to the tin with his foot, and smashed his head with one blow of a sledgehammer, as there was no axe in the village.
Okay, that would explain why they have the hammer. That's something at least.
And
But
he
why would they
brought
have the executioner's block? What would be the point of basically?
well, well,
Why would
well.
you do
The
an?
executioner's block was just an upturned iron bucket
Here's my next question. Why do they follow the Gallagher method of smashing watermelons?
because justice.
I don't hate the duster. I don't hate the concept either. It's just really fucking weird that they look like this in Europe. It really fucking weirds me out because this is more this looks like something you'd see in the wild west of America, not in fucking Germany.
And so what the judge did is he went from settlement to settlement and judged people.
Well, actually, let me be fair. The hat he's wearing is not actually a cowboy hat. That is more of a witchfinder's hat. That's like the type of
It is
hat
a
that you'd see,
broad-rimmed floppy hat.
which is much more common in Europe. Like the style because of how short and narrow the head of it is. Yeah.
And he
It's
killed
just
enough
when you wear the duster that fucks with me.
to become a legend, as
Okay.
he legitimately was taking these savages and beating them to death.
I mean, at any point he could have just had his head blown off, but you know.
He survived. He kept attracting followers, and eventually, he had over 100 of them. Actually,
This isn't as interesting as the judge system that was in 2000 AD at all.
though he disappeared at one point,
Of course he did. He'll come back like Lehman Russ.
uh, because
You
they all
know
kind
that's
of
what they'll do.
started dressing and looking like him.
I mean, I'd
And they
leave
found
too.
that out only months later.
I'll be
They only
honest, I'd leave too if I had a bunch of weirdos fucking follow me dressing up like
because
me.
they realized that they didn't need him to continue his work. They were able to set up their own city, Justitian, and the Codex, their book of law. It evolves, amended by the advocates' interpretations, based on the writings of the Supreme Judge. And the longer the Supreme Judge is in office, the more complex and tight the paragraphs become. Arcot, the current one, is the oldest, and he's been Supreme Judge for more than 20 years, and his codex is a bloated monster that no one can control anymore. Basic
Oh,
commandments like thou shalt
so
not.
they're stealing the lexiconum. They're
Yep,
stealing the legal system of the Wardicate. Just die.
yep.
Just
Basic
die.
commandments like thou shalt not kill and thou shalt not steal form the smallest but oldest part of the codex. Subsidiary paragraphs list pages and pages of exceptions, measures of punishment. So actually, they could be just aping off the Talmud in this case.
You're saying that, but no, it's very clearly based on because
Oh
there's
yeah.
no way. There's no way they read anything. Like they didn't even bother reading basic programming terms or basic IT terms.
Yeah. Well, the advocates devise new laws in their palaces and keep an army of scribes occupied with a flood of
This is just
amendments.
ripping off the administratum. This is
The
fucking lame.
the protectors
Hey,
patrol
do you like
the
the
ship.
Arbites, but you want them to look like cowboys? Here you go, motherfucker.
I mean, that does sound cool.
Yeah, but I would rather play that in a thing called there's this game, you see. It's called Dark Heresy. It's a really cool game where you know, in the span of time that we've read here, you could have actually made an Arbite who is all about the law. And not only could he have a hammer, he could have an electrical one that could punch through ceramite plating and kill super soldiers with. Huh.
I I will agree with Jimmy here. Words, words, words. The RPG. And I do say I enjoy reading, so that might
Oh,
end up being the
I
reason
like
why I
reading.
liked it.
It's just this is such a waste of words. It's a waste of words for concepts that are not that creative. And look, I'm not demanding everything has to be a million times creative. I would be probably a lot kinder to the judges if I didn't have to read through a cult that should not have existed because of where the fucking asteroid hit. A fat man, a fucking XQC going, hey, chat, check it out, get them. I'm gonna crash the world economy, chat. Like you got that, and then you got the Spitalers, which, by the way, so far they are my most liked of what we've read so far. Oh boy, why do they have senates if they're a judge? Wouldn't it be called the court?
Well, no, because they've set up the protectorate. They have their own sort of civilization that they've built out in Western Borca.
Okay,
Senate's representing
more
factions.
40k, more 40k borrowing, and you can kind of see why I think they look like cowboys in this image here. Just they look very much like cowboys. Also, I know Germans love their bread, but I didn't expect them to make a meme of their own diet by just having them eat nothing but bread. Is there anything not lame in this book? In fairness, there are some aspects of it that I kind of, well, no, no, I kind of like the Spitalers. I got to give them at least something. I kind of. The judge concept's fine. It's just it exists in other games and it's better.
I do like the so they have very basic technology. They have muskets, pistols, and hammers. They do have a clan that is in different books described as the ones who actually make this stuff, and they could make better things, but you know the judges can't really demand it because they aren't the ones that build their technology, so they're relying on a clan for them to build that shit.
That's actually really stupid. I'm sorry. That's really fucking stupid. And it feels like we need to keep their style the same.
Well, speaking of the clans,
It is the most ham-handed way to explain why their technology isn't better than it should be. The aliens in tech are nice. The people surrounding them are pretty lame. I don't even think the aliens are that interesting, to be honest.
now the differences in the various psychonauts.
The evil mastermind is a ripoff Elon Musk. That's currently my go-to because there's this super evil megacorp called RG that's like behind so many bad things. Like you know those super powerful god people that we talked about that I already forgot the name of. I only remember Chernobog out of the lot.
Marauders.
Yeah, those losers. Yeah, it's Elon Musk's fault that they exist. Oh, and here is something that I think is genuinely stolen from a 30s pulp thing, which is nice. I like it. It does invoke 30s era pulp for me. It's just it feels soulless as fuck because of the lack of effort in congealing these groups together. And if you're wondering, the basic punishments that the judges come up with are very much based on medieval forms of punishment. The only difference is they don't brand them, they don't burn them or cut things. Because cutting things off that would imply that we completely stole from medieval times and how they did punishment. No, we just smashed them with
Though moving on from this, the clans.
Oh, we're just completely skipping the judges.
Yeah.
Are you
I'm
sure
just
about that?
I'm thinking of skipping, just moving on, getting all
The
of the
most cowboy of cow. Like
yeah.
now, do you understand why I make fun of them as cowboys?
They but because I want to get to this section because there's a great image of a bunch of guys riding on woolly mammoths.
By the way, despite these people being the people that founded Justitian, not a lot of spirit in their stereotypes either. Just to let you know. Sorry, I just was staring in
Yeah.
horror at. Oh, hey, look, it's a chaos cultist.
No, it's a clanner.
Yeah, it's a chaos cultist.
And the clans are
By the way, this is one of the few times that they used art that I think looks pretty good. Is these people like covered in blood shrinking from the meteors? I like this.
yeah. There's a variety of clan types. You have nomadic ones, as that travel in the seasons and sort of led by their shamans. You have the ones that settle down, building dynasties and societies.
Oh yeah, by the way, somehow woolly mammoths came back. Don't fucking think about it. We sure as fuck didn't think about that.
I believe they state it was something from before the Eschaton that they made.
Yeah, like the concept being that they were brought back from like with revivification programs. It's just don't fucking think about it. We wanted it to look cool without really fucking thinking about it.
And then there are the savages, just the guys that are your complete barbarians that just
Yeah, yeah, they're the stereotypical like
orcs.
low functioning ape people that just go around murder raping everything.
They are the orcs.
Yeah.
And there's different groups, obviously, different regions. I like the guy here with the diver's helmet.
Eh,
I just find it to be goofy.
eh.
You've got the resistance in Franca, more
By the way, they go into details about like each of the tribes. Like they have the
yeah,
Barcan ones, which
yeah.
I'm trying to read, and god damn it, they completely fucked that up. The Franken ones also fucked up.
Because they're not describing what the what are the actual clans. They're trying to do a much more narrative, which
That's one of the stupidest fucking things you could have done
yeah.
because these are one of the cults that you really this is a cult that is literally the grab bag for Unga Bunga. That is what this purpose of this cult is. And because of that, and because they don't understand that this is not a very functionally statistical cult, and it relies heavily on clans, they are bloviating the page count.
Though despite them all, the Africans are ones that are doing fine.
Oh yeah, let me. I'll read that one because I have to make fun of this book whenever I can, and it's terrible. I'll get into it. It's fucking horrible. Just looking quickly through Balkan. There's nothing interesting there. Hybris, like none of these are interesting. So let's just go. Let's just get into Africa. It gets real fucking racist again. African clans look back on a rich tradition. They're completely self-contained and live a life remembering their ancestors, far away from the coastal and oil settlements. They sacrifice milk and honey at rocks and trees. Yeah, because that's what the Africans do, right? And they treat their white slaves well. They really focus on the ethnicity
On
of
the
their
yeah.
slaves. The cities beckon with gaudy fun and adventure. Day by day, the tribes lose their young adults to melting pots like Tripoli. The psychovores get the rest. The elders resist. They involve the young people more strongly. Let them lead the hunt. Give them whites to beat or
holy,
concubines to enjoy.
holy shit!
Old rules have reinterpreted and defended against the coca intoxicated elders. Coca intoxicated elders. They're also drug addicts too. I love the intrinsic fucking loathing of black people in this entire setting. It's
It
amazing.
is.
Are you sure we're not accidentally reading like Varg Vikernes' fan fiction? Are you
I
sure
don't.
this isn't My Farog?
I don't know at this point.
This is embarrassing. So
But
oh yeah, I forgot to rate the judges. I rate them I am the law out of 10, aka they're like wet sandpaper, so like a point 4.
and the clan's ranks. It's kind of a generic, like
0 out of 10. They're not
yeah.
really a thing. I don't hate it. Like I'm not gonna hate it like I am gonna do with the Africans, but
And next up though are the scrappers. Scrappers are the ones that during the apocalypse went out and actually scrounged for things. The European ones are more solitary, more alone. The African ones, though, they looted the shit out of Europe.
of course they did. So yeah, the scrappers are basically just dirt haulers.
I mean, the one thing I do like they point out is the fact that it's been over 500 years. Most of that technology has been taken away. If you're a scrapper now, the only way you're gonna find shit is in the most dangerous of places. Shit where there's robots or all manner of hazards.
Oh, by the way, meanwhile in Africa, the coastal cities have been devastated by tidal waves, but the reconstruction was in full swing. Not much can be saved from the debris. The Africans looked across, appraisingly speculated, discussed with their clans whether to jump across the water would be worthwhile. They only salvage trash there. So for some reason, they are able to survive all of the pheromone bug people just fine. They're able to survive that fine and basically steal all of France's economy and put it back into Africa, which is why the Europeans are ooga booga booga shuga, and these people are like super advanced in enslaving the fuck out of them.
I I
This is their slapdash and fucking shit attempt to
I
explain
believe
this.
their explanation is that they used the this oil that's secreted from the pheromones, and the Anubians were then able to make it into some sort
Nope,
of.
they didn't explain that in this section. So as far as I'm concerned, what they did was they somehow magically survived the massive tidal waves and they managed to go deep into France, full of the bug people, and managed to steal all of the factories and take them back to Africa so they can enslave Whitey. This is shit. This is
So,
absolute shit.
so here,
Africa flourished while Europe, which by the way actually had more of the factories on hand and they were fucking closer, because keep in mind that these dumb motherfuckers had to survive the Psychovore and Super AIDS. What the fuck is this nonsense? It
Degenesis.
here's here's how you fix this. It's very simple. Very simple. Africa, because it was further away from the meteor, the the Psychovore belt, was in a lot better shape, barring the overgrowth. So what you would do is you would have the Anubians get the factories from, say, the ruins of Lagos, or from Elizabethville or Stanleyville in the Congo, and then just have them reformulate it. That's how you do it. You
Hmm.
go to the wreckage of Dakar. Well, actually, Dakar probably got flooded. But that's how you would do it. That would make a lot more sense than the garbage that I just fucking read, where they looted all of France. Because that also implies that the extra racist bit of the Africans couldn't pull themselves up by the bootstraps. They had to take Whitey's sloppy seconds. They couldn't even build it themselves, or they couldn't even repurpose what they already had. They had to steal it from the French. God damn this fucking book. I might not. I actually might struggle. I can tell you right now, I'm not rating this son of a bitch decent right now. I might not even rate it as playable at this rate. Holy shit. Which is insulting because, like I said, the mechanics are fine.
But
Whoo!
Squirkler is asking, should they be made like, could you play a group made from multiple cults? You could. I think in that case,
It
then
depends on what cult you pick.
yeah, there is some role like
Like a Spitaler could definitely work with some of the other cults. They just would have to be careful about who they work with. Um, Chroniclers could not work in the same cult as in the same group as an Anabaptist unless they are forced to by circumstance.
which I think is where the role playing would come in.
It would be. It's just holy shit. It's a very unfortunate that these cults are terrible. Well, no, let's be fair. I did say the Spitalers were fine, and the Scrappers. I don't think they merited a full splat like this. I really think you really could have cut them and the clanners out and just have them as clans.
Yeah,
I
yeah, I
think
could
you could
definitely
have
see
cut these
that.
two out and it would have been fine. But I will say that so far it exists.
Next up, though, is the
Well, no,
Neo-Libyan.
like I said, Dax, the game itself is fine. Mechanically, it's fine.
Oh, so Dex, did you play what was it, Black Atlantic?
No, like I'm shitting on the lore because that's the main reason I would play this game is because of the lore. I think the lore is all fucking terrible, at
I
least
feel
so
like
far.
it's the way it's presented.
Yeah, but that's the problem. It's being presented as shit. Yeah, like I said, when we get to like, let me just kind of quickly hint. When we get to the mechanic parts, because here's a little bit of that ahead of time. Uh, I'm not gonna have a problem with it mechanically. The problem is I think the setting is boring garbage. Anyway,
Oh, so you did,
racism
like
begins.
yeah,
Let's
the
go.
the, the Neo-Libyans.
This is going to be amazingly terrible.
So the Neo-Libyans started up because of a guy 50 years after the fall, just called the Libyan. They don't know his name. He was a merchant, and he was able to set up trading posts along the Mediterranean coast, especially Tripoli, which was his home village. And he was able to then bring wealth not only to himself, but obviously to his community. And that is what stopped Africa's decline. Things were able to get
So yeah.
constructed, paid, and he set about three main principles for how he operates, which his descendants and his followers name themselves after him, calling them Neo-Libyans, is exploration, the ability to find different places, the secrets and opportunities within. Diplomacy, being able to engage in business with people and bring uh, a good be able to make deals and be able to gain new perspectives and trade. Once things have been explored, once deals have been made, then you can actually do your trading. Find markets, find opportunities, and exploit them. Trade unites people, and it's how civilization is built. and you get a profit along the way.
So far, this is the least bad. It's actually interesting that this that I was expecting the African ones to all be terrible. This is so far the first one I don't hate.
Well, I think it makes because this guy did stabilize his society, and so they look over, they look after it as like this is the way we have to be.
I mean, them all being we was Kangs is pretty fucking brain dead because that's a little brain dead personally. But other than that, so far, I have nothing to complain about for the Neo Libyans.
It also helps if you have armed
It's basic, but that's all you need.
if you have armed soldiers defending you in terms of the scourgers. Really helps to make those deals to explore and then profit.
Oh, you shouldn't mention those because we're going to have a lot to say about the Scourgers.
We will. One of the main areas for the Neo-Libyans is the Bank of Commerce, essentially the heart of Tripoli. It's where Neo-Libyans engaged in bidding battles, building up alliances and monopolies. It is their, for lack of a better word, mecca.
I will, however, say that I can complain about how you could further advance this because this is currently at a good place. You can make it even better by actually going into how their empire kind of works. Because this is reminding me a lot of Carthage, which actually was based on, well, essentially wealth buildup. Although depending on what era of Carthage you're looking at, you have the equivalent of an oligarchy, but they also at one point had a period of time where they were ruled by suffets or prophets, essentially, or judges, I should say. Because remember, Carthage used to be was run by Semitic people, Phoenicians. So they themselves had their own judges.
But the only thing in Neo-Libyan society is wealth. That's the only thing that matters.
Okay.
Dinar. The only, you know, and the only wealth that matters is what can be observed. Large entourages, flamboyant equipment, tanks, anything that can demonstrate your value.
So
It's not
just to let
simply
you know, these people are just like flex. They just love to flex their wealth. That's like the thing they need to do.
there's also various other ways, slaves or the hunt. A lot of Neo-Libyans take hunting expeditions to places like Poland to kill biokinetic because those things are tough to kill. So if you end up getting it, it's demonstrating your value.
There's also something magical about them gold plating their rifles and covering them in fucking bling.
It shows you wealth.
Uh, so how many cults did we look at so far? Because I need to
I think
demonstrate
7.
the failures of this fucking book. Halfway through, and this is the first one I like. Well, I'm being unfair. I like the Spitalians a little bit too. The Helvetics could have worked, but they failed. That is catastrophically bad. And they're about to ruin it by talking about the interconnected relations with the other cults. That's not going to be
Yeah.
great.
Let's see. Uh, the Apocalyptics. The only white men steeped in the principle of market economy.
Well, there we go.
They are ruthless and talented, and they go far. That's why we subconsciously hate them.
Well, there we fucking go. Of
The thing is, though, I do like this. They don't get along with the Anubians or the Scourgers,
course they don't.
even though they're both Africans. They outright see the Spitalians as possible slaves.
Damn
When
bastards. In the first days, new white slaves behave as if we're going to eat them. I I hate the emphasis on race but I understand it. At least when it's written from these guys' point of view, I kind of understand it. I just think it's really fucking dumb that they're all black because of where they're from.
Yeah, I think if they added some more in there, it would make sense. But now on to the Scourgers, your favorite faction.
Oh, that's gonna be hilarious. It's going to be so great. The blue helmet is hilarious. The Zulu style oval shield is hilarious. The fact that like Shaka Zulu, they are footless, they are shoeless. Do you want to know why they were shoeless? It was to condition them for marches. The fact that they don't even have a fucking spear, they're using a fucking back scratcher as their goddamn weapon. And then last but not least, they somehow managed to get their hands on a modern set of ballistic armor and are wearing fucking loincloths. This is this is what you make if you either really have some weird deep-seated issues with race relations or if you're just making a shit post. And you're going to see that it's not them they're making a shit post. You'll see. It's really bad.
So these are the soldiers of the Africans. They are connected to each other by a share the sort of almost despite them coming from different cultures, they
Yeah, we
somehow are
I
able to have
we're
this
going to have to mock
shared,
this. It's awful.
yeah, cultural connection. Uh, this shared history.
So first they talk about the city of Agadez, which is in Niger, by the way, if I recall correctly. But it's not as old. It's not as old as the suffering of the African people. The bound lion. Steppe grass grows in the streets and rustles in the midday breeze. Drawings can be seen around the window cases. Africa's history has been recorded with colorful earth pigments, blood, and spittle. Black areas dotted with red, fragile figures, broken bodies, and bullet holes. Legions of white chalk lines advance unstoppably, cut through the great waters, and color the rivers red with the blood of their enemies. They slaughter like animals. Dark streaks disappear in the ocean. This is literally them screeching about slavery, which is hilarious because Africans, like, are you fucking kidding me? This is like more of an American point of view. By the way,
Yeah,
this is the aspect I missed. We're gonna get to the aspect I noticed.
they say in the Tempest section, the cities are still burning, but in the hinterlands,
No, no.
armies of
Every ruin caters to another area. Talks of pain and humiliation from the white man's crimes against Africa, back in ancient history and up to today. What I Oh god, it's gonna get worse. Don't worry.
so temp. We leave the old frescoes behind and approach the present. Dark looming figures are looking down on us from many walls. 8 keep reappearing. They represent the 8 ancestors, and they will guide us when the in the terrible days when the white people will come.
I love
One,
the fuck it.
yeah,
They're all the same. It's gonna be great.
surrounded by the eight giant ancestors looking down on their people. Some gracious or angry, others mad with rage or sadness. They all lead the way to the grounds, molested by chalk lines, point with their fingers to the perpetrators. The dark clouds are now almost above the city. First drops hit the streets, stamping craters into dust and making the steppe grass tremble. Soon the tempest will wash away any dirt, and the roaring of the waters will be the only sound of the jungle for hours to come. But there's another building which shows the dark figure, the African, gloating over the prone white man and grabbing his whip.
Yeah.
There's only one image after the other. The Scourger now cuts glowing lines into its former owner's body. The black lines chase the white ones from their cities and keep pushing them into lands of chalk
Remember,
lines.
this is the most retarded aspect of this book. This is written by Europeans, specifically Germans. They do not have a history of enslavement. They have a history of colony malfeasance. One of the
And
first war
genocide.
crime, yeah, one of the first genocides in Africa was caused by them. But they also were known for surprisingly one of the more progressive colonial policies. And on top of that, this is more of a African American fucking point of view. What the fuck is this doing in the old world? What the actual fuck is this doing in the old world? But no, they got mind fucked into speaking the same language. Oh, it's not even that. They make literal monkey noises. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. That's not language. They're literally ooking and eeking and fucking making like the jokes I was making in part one. This book confirms it.
Yeah. They say so. The Scourgers are the claws of the African's lion. They face the crow, and obviously take it on and fight it for the glory of their people. They despise fat bodies. It was the predilection for greasy meat and alcohol that enabled the white man to conquer proud Africa. The renunciation of the ancestors and finally unbridled capitalism sealed the Black Continent's fate.
Unbridled capitalism. Ugh. This, it's worse. This is worse than. Can I give this thing negative points? Because we're at negative points already.
Oh.
We're at negative points. Like this I'm already rating at least a negative .1 out of 10. I didn't even know I could go backwards in points, but we are. Oh, by the way, Al Andalus. Sub-Saharan Africans, Al Andalus. Oh god.
Prisoners are enslaved so they can work off their centuries-old debts on African fields. They call this balancing, not
I think
injustice.
my favorite thing is the ruins of Agadez are based in like I think it's Niger that Agadez is in, which I think it means that they're Fula. They might be Fula or Kano. It doesn't matter.
It,
It
it
won't
does
matter.
it doesn't matter because again, they'll eat those psychivore seeds, their teeth becoming blackened from the concoction.
Oh
He
yeah,
raves,
they're junkies
yeah.
because we'll get into that too.
An ancestral wind blows. He raves incoherently like an oracle, speaking in tongues,
No,
some weird
he
chant.
literally ooks and eeks. We'll fucking get
But
into it.
wait. But something happens to those gathered around him who keep moving closer to him. He leads them down to the sea of collective memories, pulling them with him into the absolute blackness. And
You,
eventually,
all
yeah,
black people believe in their ancestors and smoke
they're
drugs
all
and hate
yeah,
white folk.
they're all one. They are now the lion.
By the way, they also, again, the developers think that a lot of Africans believe that there are spirits in every rock, which is funny because this is more of like a Native American thing. There are African tribes that think this though, like there's spirits everywhere. It depends on the fucking region though. Also, this ignores the massive amounts of Islam and Christianity.
So, how are they able to connect everyone together?
Oh, it's gonna be amazing.
Despite the language, you've got Swahili, Arabic, Hausa, Malikan, Kikongo, Amharic, Somali. So how do you get them together? It starts with the psychivore. The people close to them lost their father's tongue and communicated on a rudimentary level with simple words, clicks, and other basic sounds.
So remember the part in part one where I was like, that's literally how they fucking talk. They are literally monkey people now. They have become monkey. This
this
is
new
not me.
language
This is the book.
This new language formed images in the minds of its users, conveying a painful intensity of emotions with few phononyms. They call it Waryu, meaning from the river. From what language, I don't know.
This is more homosexual than a pride parade. This is lamer and gayer than the aftermath of a Disney boardroom meeting after they've made the newest Star Wars IP.
Those who drink from this river are rid of the intellectual ballast of centuries, of grammar and vocabulary, and regain the first and most primordial of all languages, in which the spirits and ancestors communicate with the Africans.
Don't worry, I'm just speaking the songs of my ancestors. Can I take points away from the cults because of this
Do it
particular one?
because, dear God, what the fuck were these Germans thinking?
We're at negative
I
point
again,
three.
I still like this game. I do like for some reason I do like the setting, but what the flying fuck is this racist shit?
the best part is after we did our stream last week, I was like, hey, let's see what the cults are like because this is the last chance for the setting to really intrigue me. And then out of a shit post, because I knew the African ones were going to be some of the worst. We looked at the Anubians first, then we looked at the Scourgers, and we read that section, and the exact reaction that ImpCit gave here was the first reaction. It just like fucking floored him because he never read the Scourger section because they're not that interesting.
Like invalids, they stumbled through a world they had stormed before, relying on grammatical constructs and worn-out phrases. I,
They're monkey people. And that's why they carry psychophore seeds, because they're so reduced to chimp that they need to take their crack or else they become chimps.
well, it's more they take that in order to be able to
This
communicate
this
with
is
each
like
other
this
and
is like
connect
Turner
them.
Diaries propaganda. This is like if you ask the neo-Nazi to depict an African American man, this is what they'd write. A dude who literally goes ugga mugga fucka big snood while smoking fentanyl or whatever. That's what they're doing.
Oh god, I didn't get the drug parallels. Holy fuck!
Do you now understand why I'm gonna have to rate this a negative .5 out of 1 out of 10? Actually,
I,
negative
I can
5.
I can only say this. I, I mean, at least they didn't use like colors like red, yellow, and green. If they just went pure Pan Africanism, I would have
You're
blown a gasp.
well, I mean, you're saying that, but look at their traditional usage of West African tribal masks.
Yeah, the death masks.
Also ignore the fact that remember, out of the tribes they listed, Arabic, not remotely sub-Saharan, that's Semitic.
Uh oh, not so.
Amharic, East African. Somali, East African. Swahili, East African. Malinke, Hausa, Kikongo, two of them are West African, one of them is Central. The Germans literally see them as all the same. All the same Pan African crackheads that ook and eek like chimpanzees.
You know, it's a bit upsetting. I posted a link to this video to the Discord for Degenesis, and again, I hope none of the
I'm sorry,
I
people
kind
who
of
like
want the
this.
developers to see this at the same time. I don't want them to.
I'm sorry I'm being so cruel. It's just, what in the ever loving fuck were you thinking for this section? And if you're going to waste this much time building lore, you have to really use your pages where they count. And I don't think you did.
Because I mean, okay, you gave us the backstory to the Scourgers, but
The
so how do
concept
they
of them
act?
being psychic soldiers that are kind of linked by a loose hive mind, fine. That's a fine concept. I don't hate that. Them being crack fiends that ook and eek like chimps are the fucking problem, as is the rampant black supremacy that you made them believe in. That is a problem. The concept is fine. The
Like it was.
execution is like springtime for Hitler from the producers.
It's like if there was ever a need for like a cultural consultant, it would be here.
This is one of the few times that, yeah, you might have actually benefited from having a cultural consultant. Because, like I said, if you wanted to base them on, because this is very clearly based on Shaka Zulu's Ululu or whatever it's called. I don't remember the specific term for his army, but if you wanted to make it based on like Shaka Zulu's army from the Zulu kingdom, go right ahead. I don't hate that. The problem is it's from the wrong region. I would have probably based it more on like Songhai or Mali or hell, the Ethiopians.
Actually, you should have done Mali, because if you want to connect it to like Mansa Musa,
Yeah, you could have done that, and you could have had them do things like ride mutated. I got something really fun. Because of the psychovores, they also feed it to their animals. So you have psychovore connected linked cavalry, where they can
ooh,
communicate to their rides, to their mounts.
camels.
Camel warriors, and they can communicate with them. And those camels are actually hyper intelligent, almost as smart as men.
Oh shit, I got an idea. You have camels that can somehow use a gun with like their mouth or something like that. So it's like the guns are on the sides of them, and they shoot. I don't know, through licking something or pushing on a. I just want the idea of cavalry actually shooting people.
And that would be fine if you made them like interlinked with animals. Like, here's another thing: imagine like one of them leading a troop of baboons, like a troop of intelligent baboons with machine guns,
Elephants.
an elephant with a cannon. Think about that. You could do a lot of
Didn't they,
cool things with
didn't they
this.
have didn't like
Yes, the
Hannibal or
Mughal
some
army. The Mughal army also used them too. Hannibal himself used elephants, North African elephants. They went extinct because they kept being used in war.
and I want to continue with I'm going to skip over their various roles and everything. It just
They're traditional
concentrating on
black jacket and camouflage pants. You know, they just look like they came out of the middle of a child soldier war in Central Africa, just to maximize the amount of
yeah,
offensiveness that this thing
to
has.
to the, to the stereotypes because those are going to be good. The Anabaptists,
Wait,
a
no,
white
there's one good. No, no, before we do, there's a really cool piece of art though on 253, where you have a Helvetican and a Scourger doing the Predator arm clap. That I like.
yeah,
I like this. This is the only bright spot in this horrible, horrible fucking cult.
and I do like that they're telling people who join up. They start at 12. Between 12 to 28, they're cared for by the village. Adults do not marry. Their deaths would cause existential problems for their partners. Only after 28, in a rite of passage, are they considered elders and they can marry.
Also, I love how one of their ranks is just Simba, so I'm just
Yeah,
imagining this cracked out witch doctor going like Simba and like randomly pours blood on your head.
they don't have this issue of
I'm sorry,
they.
you made it this way.
Oh no, actually, you need this. The Moyo. One day the Chaga will go to his Dumusai, sit opposite to him on a rock distant from the pack, and tell him that it is time to select his Moyo, his soulmate. The Damasi selects a Hondo or a Damu that he feels close to and he considers worthy. Together they perform the ritual of union. They are now one. Their souls have been joined. What happens to one also happens to the other. Spartan romance time.
I I don't know what to say. I don't hate that concept. Spartan romances is fine.
Time for the black man to get blacked.
It's just why on earth did you make it like with these people too? Like,
Yeah.
you know what would have made maybe some sense is if you had another warrior society outside of them that did this too.
However,
Like a
if a
clanger
Moyo
society.
fails, he and his Dumasi become Kifus. When he dies, he returns as an evil spirit. Every Scourger will avoid him. No pack will take him in. It's a trust thing. If you fuck up, you're out. But the stereotypes. Anabaptists. A white man's warrior clan. Guardians of Pagari and southern Borca. They don't consider us enemies, and they will regret it. Apocalyptics. Beautiful, sensual white people that can be sold for handsome sums on triples markets. Uh, that's it. But in terms of their usage of white, I do like the bring up the different characters. I knew about the Bloodhound, uh, Agu, and Ephraim. Ephraim is a hermaphrodite.
Yeah.
Ha- Half man, half woman. That means she is nothing in the community of the Scourgers. Don't know what that means. Don't know what they're implying here.
Maybe the fungus mutated her, or like is this are we getting another fetish here, or is this a case of they're trying to do a cultural thing without understanding?
I don't know.
Because in a lot of cultures, I don't really know about general tribes in Africa, so I'm not going to speculate. But for example, in India and in several Native American tribes, um, this might be meaning that it's a woman taking the role of a man in their society, and that is against what they usually do. Or she is, if it's an all warrior society, if they segregate the roles in combat based on gender. That could be another example. But I am giving details to this book after what the fuck it did with this group. So I rate this a -8 out of 10. And the only reason it doesn't get the full -10 is because of that really cool image with the Helvetica and this guy kind of like clapping arms.
All right. Now we move on to the Anubians, but we will have to skip page 262
Because the
because there
lady
is a
that you're seeing here at the bottom, yeah, she's topless because, let's make it impossible for people to fucking get on the shelves of a normal book. She is completely butt fucking naked. Also, yes, the Egyptian cult is Wiwa's Kangs.
yes. So they believe that the Anubians have been around since the beginning. They were there when the first pharaohs ruled the Nile. They were there in the kingdom of Kush. Um,
I just had a dark thought with that hermaphrodite. Maybe it's because of nanomachines.
they hardened in response to physical pain.
She has a nanomachine strap on. There you go. There's my brain death of the day.
So they believe that these Nubians that they're searching then for this thread of life to find this Ka that I guess once they do that they will I guess create a new life form or something like that. So despite all this mystical mumbo jumbo, there's also a neat tag about the Anubis Syndicate.
Oh yeah,
A myster-
basically evil Elon Musk funded a bunch of Wiwa's Kangs to try to
no,
figure
no,
out how to
no, no,
use
no, no. This is
nanomachines to
different.
cheat death.
This is different. These are African scientists dedicated to rewaking the body after death.
Yeah, the reanimator.
But they're not with the recombination group. One of the founders of the recombination group uh, fled into the arms of this organization after a case of industrial spying. So most likely, what this means is all this background is bullshit. It is made up by by these scientists because what these guys can do is once they find somebody who has, I guess, the thread of life that's important, um, they kill them in some way and bring them back from death.
Basically, what happened was the group of scientists figured out how to use nanomachines to. Basically, this is an entire cult of vamps. They are filled with
And
nanomachines that can bring them back from the dead, and because they are technically corpses, that makes them completely immune to the psychovore. This is actually a somewhat clever idea, but the Wiwas Kang's bullshit and basically skull fucking of Egyptian culture makes me completely uninterested in them. It's a
and
it's
they
it's a
have their
great
own yeah.
concept. They just absolutely fucked it up.
They have they end up having these 8 concentric rings on their bodies that as they get more and more into the cult, the less rings appear. Once they get to the second, they are sent to whatever is in Cairo and are not seen again. They also are searching for various artifacts. Uh, this whole thread of life thing, these, I believe, books of the dead. It is said that eh, that these books contain the complete listings of deceased persons' life essences in a language ineligible to the living. These books, however, are not really. They're made of a deep matte black material. Each one is massive and cannot be opened. They resemble flat slabs more than books.
They're hard drives. They're basically hard
Yeah,
drives on their life records and whatever. Oh, by the
yeah.
way, so Egyptian that they're basing that their companions are based on a trickster deity from West Africa. Go fuck yourself. Anansi is a trickster deity. Fuck
Yeah.
off.
Uh, moving on then, because to the other bastardization of religion, the Jahamadans.
Oh, that's gonna be funny.
He appeared to them on top of the Kaaba, the mysterious black building in Mecca.
Oh, by the way, before we
Shit!
do,
Oh,
check it out. The bread tube streamer after the apocalypse and before getting shot. But yeah,
the yeah. Not Muhammad, Jehammed,
Yeah, Yebus.
last of the prophets.
Yeah, Yebus.
He was a shining dream, replete with God, his voice thundering down on the people and made them feel the power of his Lord. He told them that God would come upon the world in anger, to purge it from the lazy faithlessness, to pass it on to his disciples, the descendants of their progenitor Abraham, so that the seed may sprout and the land may flourish in faith.
So some questions that I have to bring up. Number one, how did this man not get killed? How was he not violently killed by the Muslims on Hajj for this massive amount of heresy and for defiling the Kaaba?
I wonder if he was able to appear virtually.
I'm no, I no. He appeared on top. I'm just envisioning he's there screaming. I'm envisioning
Well, no,
some.
no, 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 because he said he was a shining dream. Like his voice thundered. I feel like there's an implication that he wasn't physically there, but that's where he made his speech.
I'm gonna be frank. I think they'd still have a kill on sight order for this motherfucker.
Yeah, probably. Somehow, though, this.
I just envision though like this crazy fucking dude, Yebus, like screaming because another thing you'll find out is that this is actually an RG plot. So you have Yebus screaming on top of the Kaaba, not getting shot in the head like he should, and then just envision like evil Elon Musk, so normal Elon Musk with a goatee, fucking doing his weird dance behind him as he's like screaming about how you should have two wives. Oh, his name is Jesus and Muhammad because he's supposed to essentially splice all three of the major
Oh,
Abrahamic faiths. What
I did not get that.
you didn't
I
expect that Muhammad was a fusion of the two? You didn't
well,
understand
because
that?
I saw that it's based off of Abraham's family, and to me that came to, oh, he's referring to the Jews.
No, fuck no. They're an afterthought in this.
Well, let me. It's literally in our religion that we talk about, the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Same thing in
It's
Islam and Christianity, dude. It's in basic book. It's in the basic book of Genesis
well, not Isaac and Jacob.
and in the
Well,
Hadiths.
yeah,
No,
technically, but
oh no, we cover them too. We cover all the basic patriarchs. We just don't go into big detail on them as much.
yeah, we do. So
Well, they don't. You're saying that, but I think what happened here is you're supplying knowledge yourself because I've actually read this
probably.
one. No, I've read this one. It does not go. It goes into the same level of detail I'd expect a Christian to. Like they don't really go into as much detail as you'd think. The closest they kind of do is sometimes they go really hard on basic procedure. We'll get into that. But yeah, this was a plot by evil Elon Musk to, I guess, piss off all of the Islamic world or whatever. Maybe it was his plan to do the fucking helter skelter. Because at this rate, given the creation of super AIDS destroying Africa and whatever, I'm just gonna say RG was like trying to do like the fucking Manson cult and start a race war. At this rate, fuck it.
Jerome Gatrell is actually ma- um, the descendant of the Manson family.
He's half Charlie Manson and half Elon Musk. Just like envision him dancing like a fucking weirdo on the Kaaba with Yebus like screaming about this shit, and that's kind of what I envision.
Jesus and Muhammad are poop butts. I don't fool around with poop people like that.
Oh, also, here's a random sprinkling of Judaic stuff that I've heard of, but I don't understand.
So
But yeah,
one thing, though,
they live in the Balkans. So
yeah,
they're
well,
Romanians.
yeah, the one thing I do have to say that is to me interesting, and it factors into the game. It's a modern RPG that restricts based on your sex. Like there are roles in the society that only women can have and that only men can have.
Yep, because the guys who wrote this really went hard on their weird bigamy cult.
So
Oh,
the whole thing
by the
is,
way, their religion, it's mostly not described other than the fact that they really hate Christ cucks because they are basically a shittier iteration of Christianity. That's the best way to describe it. It is literally them just dunking endlessly on Christianity. There is no details about what Yebus has said. There are no. It is
well, they
just
can't read.
Oral
if I
tradition.
remember correctly.
I don't give a
They
shit. You should still at least cover what the Bible says.
you just interpret what the images say. The will of Muhammad.
Yeah, the will of Yibis. But yeah, basically they got angry at the Christians, or in this case the Anabaptists, who are not even Christians. We'll fucking get into that, and I'll hate them.
Yeah.
Probably.
So
The big thing is they're bigamists. So
yeah,
basically, this guy here, this fine upstanding dude, has two wives. There's the wife he actually cares about and loves, and
the
then there's the one
Sorelli,
that's just a pump and dump and cry in and have slaves
Hagari.
with,
So the Sorelli will birth the Izaki.
who are sent to the front lines to die.
If they survive, though, they will end up becoming prophets and guides of the community. But the Hagari son, the Ismaili, i- is simply the
He's the
servant
bitch.
boy
He's the bitch boy.
who can also perhaps one day become a soldier and become an Abrami.
By the way, the reason they have that is specifically because they had a thought going, wait a minute, if most of the society is slaves, why don't they just uprise and try to murder them like what happened with the Spartans at least twice? Because these are basically just bigamist Spartans at the end of the day.
There's also this whole thing about the Arianoi, which is interesting. So when they were fighting the Anabaptists, this guy called Aries shows up and kicks the shit out of the Anabaptists. And basically, when someone is summoned, they feel the call to Ares. They've been to Crete. They face to face with the Ancient One. They have taken the ram's head, drunk Ares' metallic drop from it, and they become servants of Ares.
This was
He's another marauder.
oh oh oh. So what you're saying is the cult of the bull is basically watching them get cuckolded by a giant bull man? Okay.
Yep.
By the way, this two-page spread is them, I believe, trying to mimic the tabernacle, or at least the original tabernacle before it was built, like the first temple before it was built, where it was like a tent where you'd have the Ark of the Covenant in it. Also, in their lore, their big thing is lamb. Lamb are very important. Lambs and goats are primary. They don't actually go into dietary restrictions, which is probably because they don't really fucking know that.
They can't eat pork, can't they?
They
That
never
that
say. They never specify.
only
So
on Sundays.
they also never tell you what their day of rest is because they're clearly based on all three faiths, but they don't clarify if it's between sunrise and sunset like it is
Well,
among the
given the
Jews,
fact that what is it? I think the
Sunday for
Muslims
Christians.
Muslims claim Friday, Jews claim Saturday, Christians claim Sunday, Monday.
I'm just now
Which
envisioning.
actually no, that explains why they got popular. They get Mondays off.
No, no. This gives me a funny idea. I'm envisioning that one of the prophets is the Book of Garfield, and it, and it's basically this very lazy person who learns to find Yebus via the power of working only on non Mondays or whatever. I don't know. But if you're wondering, yeah, the Arianoi were slapped on at the last minute. It's really funny because they try to at least give basic details for everyone else. These are the ones that kind of just said fuck it and they slapped it
They're
on there.
the image I think Dax can back me up because he did play a Jahamadan. The Arianoi, their general look is a shirtless man with a ram's skull on his head, wielding a katana.
Oh, so an average Florida man.
Yes, screaming about the blood of Ares.
Oh, by the way, a fun fact is if you're a Hagari, you can become a Delilah, which is a reference to Samson, Shimshon. Although they wouldn't know that, they wouldn't understand that. In reality, I would probably go with comparing it to what was it? I would compare it to Jacob's wives. I would compare it to either one of his concubines or the older and unpopular one, Leia.
Is that Rachel and Leia?
Yeah, Rachel was the one he loved. Leia was the one he was forced to marry. I would
No,
have labeled her after that.
there is a Jewish connection. If we go to the three characters they show, the one of the prophets, Gilabad, Reuben, Abraham. That's a Jew.
Yeah,
Moving on, then I think we have three more to go. Um,
apocalyptics, and she looks like an elven farseer.
with oh, that strap must fucking hurt.
Yeah. So anyway, these are just degens who are like, "Fuck the world, it's over."
So evil Elon Musk, Graham Cottrell, he was a billionaire, visionary, brilliant orator, and televangelist.
He was
He
also he
preached
was also caught embarrassingly doing cringe dances in front of the president.
Yeah. He preached the power of the archetypes and of the tarot, free love and sadism, nationalism and anarchy, democracy and dictatorship, a life on the fast lane, subversion. His streamcasts made the data paths glow, illuminating the deepest recesses of the bygone soul. One feed alone generated thousands of interpretations, most of which were founded on Gatrell's paradoxes. Everyone
Are
felt he
are
was
they?
onto something.
Oh no! I just realized something really fucking stupid.
What?
Evil Elon Musk is the Antichrist, and they're framing him in that way. That's
Ah.
terrible, and I fucking hate it. And I'm no, no, no.
But these are what happens when you have a bunch of degens after 500 years after the apocalypse.
Again, why are these a cult? Why are they a major cult? Is it just because they needed a Slanesh cult to rip off?
I think they needed their thieves guild. They needed their
They
because
wanted
these
they wanted to
guys.
rip off the Dark Eldar. Okay.
No, they're not dark out. They're not. They're more about enjoying. It says the apocalypse are a cult of youth and life. They are all about living in the now, enjoying in the pleasures and profiting off of them.
Okay.
It's all.
I don't
It's
know why
all.
they have to be the Thieves Guild. It feels like they needed a
Well, because
mechanistic reason.
Because they engage in various vices and trades. They engage in the burn trade, so that they're the ones that spread it around. Pickpocketing, but they're also messengers. They're able to
I feel like this was a desperation move to make a thief guild different, but by doing it the way they did, it
a thieves guild based on memes,
it just doesn't work.
which I'm going to be reading that it fits Elon Musk every because whenever you see a fucking tweet from him, it's all his dick suckers and mostly cryptocurrency sellers talking about how great he is, interpreting every word as if it's correct, and a lot of the times it's just a one-word thing as concerning.
You know things are
This is
bad when not
interesting.
Nito needs his psychovore seeds to survive. Yeah, they're basically the eponymous "be gay, do crime." It's a thing. It's something.
It's
Don't get me wrong, a cult of hedonists could be interesting. The fact that they survived from the fucking apocalypse is stupid. You couldn't have it just naturally form. That's fucking stupid. But I don't know why you couldn't just make it the equivalent of British style Hellfire clubs.
remember because a marauder controls it.
Anyway, moving on because I've already completely lost interest in them.
So the Anabaptists. So
Yeah,
they're
sorry, fuck that. Fuck what I just heard. So this is gonna suck. This is going to be an attempt to make Christianity interesting because they're too stupid to understand esoteric Christianity.
Rebus the Baptist was a seeker. He felt the presence of something sublime that could be traced to the living and the dying of people like a golden thread. But no religion, no sect brought him any closer to it.
Oh, I shouldn't have kept calling Yahamed and Yahamed. I shouldn't have called him Yebus because it's literally in the name, Yebus the Baptist.
So
Rebus, Yebus, fuck it.
yeah, they all followed. He filled page after page with notes, sometimes leaning towards Christendom, sometimes towards the Mohammedans. It didn't matter. They all followed man-made beliefs. Even the Iconids and the few remaining priests were only pagans. Oh, so religion. Okay, so religion collapsed.
That's a load of stupid horse shit, and you know it.
It is, but I guess it's at
No,
least better than just saying that they just died out during the apocalypse.
this is so. No, this is horse shit.
So in the thicket of pagan faiths, he found something called Neonosis. It was the tree in the Garden of Eden. It was the apple and the snake. It was pure divine insight.
AKA, we really like that Gnostic faiths are really weird, but are too fucking brain damaged and deficient in skill to make Christianity interesting. Even though it would make 1,000 times more sense for the Catholic fucking Church, to survive this. What a fucking joke.
So
I have nothing but contempt for this.
so it
You are
has
really going to tell me the Evangelion and stuff like the Book of fucking Judas made the survival when the basic concept of even something as simple as Inferno, Purgatorio, and Paradiso didn't? Are you
well
fucking serious?
because it's clear that this world was set is being the material world is being controlled by the demiurge, and that this apocalypse
Translation: we
was
thought Gnosticism was more interesting than going weird Christianity.
was God throwing up the demiurge, breaking it apart. Now, of course, some of it remained in the form of the chroniclers and others who seek the material world, but there were also obviously the primer,
This is just
this
basic
mutation.
Gnostic gobbledygook. It's not even interesting gobbledygook. Like, this is basic bitch Gnostic garbage. Hey, do you wanna know some very interesting faiths that actually are Gnostic that are still around to this day? Ever heard of the Mandaeans?
Yeah, we talked about it last week.
Yeah, you could have used them. You could have used them. You ever heard of the Yazidi, which are a Kurdish cult, which is a Kurdish faith? Although those are more based on Islam, it still heavily is based on some elements of Gnostic faith. What
Hmm.
about the Druze communities of Syria? I mean, for fuck's sake, you know what you could have done? You could have had a Christianity that survived the fall from like Protestantism that goes full non-Trinitarian. Like, you can do some weird shit where you pick up stuff from like other cultures that they just kind of pick up. Like, imagine, for example, a dark form of Protestantism which believes not just in the Calvinist sense of predestination, where your orders and works are via grace are already predetermined, but then you also go into some weird shit with like adoptionism, where anyone can be like Christ. Like, you can pick
Oh,
some weird shit. You can make them iconoclasts, where they have no concept of engraven images because of the commandment.
and they burned down the cities.
But what they did was basic bitch Gnostic 101, the basic stuff that you would do, like if you cracked open your first fucking run through of Evangelion. Neon Genesis Evangelion. Like, that's basically what this is. Babby's first Evangelion. What a load.
So at least with the Anabaptists, there's
I'm
two.
disappointed. I'm disappointed because here's the other thing. Anabaptists are an actual thing. I believe Southern Baptist conventions are Anabaptists. That you have the Hutterites and Amish that you could base them on. Mennonites. You could have made them the survivors of Mennonite communities.
Yeah, but how many of them live in Germany?
I believe at least a few 10,000.
How many of them live in the cities?
None, because they're agricultural boys.
And there you go.
I
I
I'm
at
this
least I
is
think.
disappointing. This is massively disappointing.
Still, you get flamethrowers.
I don't care. I don't
Then
care.
we'll move on to the last one.
Religious crazies and fucking flamethrowers is like peanut. It's that is the most basic bitch take I have ever seen. By the way, nice ripping off of Zoroastrianism with the eternal fires, you stupid sons of bitches.
We'll move on to the last cult
Eh,
then.
Well, no, no. I can talk about some of the crazier cult beliefs that you can think of. Um, some of the funniest ones are the cosmology and formations of Christ's buildup. Like, there's the concept of Apollinarianism, where Jesus had a mortal flesh body, but his mind was divine, the divine mind of God. There's also rejected books that include stuff like the Book of Judas, and there's also a few other ones that were thrown out that you could throw in. Um, on top of that, there is also the nature of the Trinity, if there is a Trinity. Um, some don't believe in that. Unitarians are an actual thing, and they're a thing now. And on top of that, you get some particularly odd evolutions like the Jehovah's Witnesses, which actually go so far as to believe Jesus himself wasn't crucified. He was put to a stake. That's why they don't use crosses. You can do a lot of fascinating things just by looking through Christianity. For example, if I had to make this cult, I would have it form in the aftermath of the Catholic community. You could even have it. Here's something really fucked up. It is actually a pagan. It is a pagan polytheistic religion where the saints have become gods based on their purview because the knowledge of the Bible was mostly destroyed because the churches were cut, their heads were cut off. Then
Oh, it's
throw
like,
in then throw in like cultural practices from like
wait, 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 wait. So you mean like European Santeria?
yeah, you could have it be like that.
That's something, yeah?
Can you understand why I think going Gnostic is like the cheapest and lamest approach to this?
Yeah.
This is bare minimum. This is tofu without any soy sauce or any seasoning on it. It is just the block. Okay, now we can move on. I'm sorry. I have to I if you're going to do religious crazies, you got to do something interesting with them. There's a reason I loved looking at Testament the RPG, which actually covered the Israelite faith quite well.
Well, so our final cult is the Palers.
Oh, hey,
Not
look.
the
It's look, it's more streamers. Yeah, do you happen to have feet pics? I'll buy them at a high price. Feet
Are
pics,
you a
yes.
titty streamer? I want to
This
see it all. I'll subscribe to the OnlyFans, the sacred and blessed OnlyFans.
I kind of love the mental image of one of these guys legitimately bothering one of the coordinator guys who's like a titty streamer. Like she wears the fucking Guy Fawkes mask or whatever, like the spooky Darth Vader mask, but also it's just a titty streamer.
One of the chosen.
Uh,
I'll give you more dinars.
albino foot fetishist donated 10,000 coordinator script.
So, what happened is that a bunch of people were walking into, well, not a bunch, hundreds of thousands streamed into the recombination group's subterranean facilities, and everyone knew them as guardians.
They're security guards that evil
They were
Elon Musk
security guards.
hired to guard his vaults, and this is their
Well,
descendants.
no, except this. They went to the cylinders, and I believe these were people. The people in them, I think, maybe were guys suffering from disease. They opened them up and then killed them all, throwing the bodies into carts, and then other people moved in. The sleepers. All of them had numbers on their wrists in multiples of 100. 100s, 200s, 300s, up to 900s. And they would be put into these um, chambers. They were in a festive mood, like at one of Gatrell's announcements. They'd become sleepers. They were locked in there to be released every 100 years. The Guardians, they live though in the outer ring of these bunkers.
Yeah, they're the security guards that
Yep.
turned into this. By the way, I do love the aesthetics of these guys, and I like the
Yeah.
concept that they are what happens when private security is left to essentially turn into the Morlocks.
It says all the sleepers carried within them a special combination of genes that made them divine. According to the data, there was no other possible conclusion. With each generation of Guardians, the information backed up in dispensers, softwares, code was presented simpler than before. It planted the seed for a religion, pure, infectious memetics.
The
So,
concept of the people in the tubes being divine is an interesting take. It starting with the security thinking that is pretty fucking stupid.
well, it's because as the generations went on, it was
That makes sense. It's the way you explained it, I think.
yeah.
Because them degenerating into thinking the sleepy people that don't look like them being godlings is fine. I'm okay with that.
The other thing is this: the plan is for over 900 years. We're at 500 years already, and things are breaking down. The
Sounds like
the
something
slimy
Elon
liquid,
Musk would have happen, yeah.
the algae tanks drank water that had passed through thousands of bodies. The light bulbs expired, and light vanished, just gone.
By the way, an observation I have to give is that the palers are the section that goes completely reverse in terms of color. Black background with white text. That's a
Ah, yeah.
stylistic decision. That was a stylistic decision to emphasize that they are
Mm.
in the darkness and they cannot abide by light.
So they said seeing became less important, and instead they scratched the knowledge into the walls. With fingers caressing the scratches, one could experience the last days of light, learn about the sleeper's powers, or listen to problems and fears of guardians who had lived many years ago. Then the
Again, the
intercom.
concept is very
Yeah,
simple, and this is one of the few times I think they actually succeeded because I like the idea that these guys evolved from security. They're essentially degenerate Morlock people, which is fine. They're fentanyl Draculas, and I'm okay with fentanyl Draculas. And it works. This is one of the other clans, one of the other cults I think are pretty neat.
yeah. And
Eh,
so they've been waiting and waiting. Maybe they realized the dispensers came out, but sometimes the dispensers have come out at different times. So a 400 might have been landing where 200 is. And the other issue ultimately is that they just don't have replacement parts. And so they need to go out. They need to communicate with the people. The problem is that obviously they will laugh at them claiming that they are the guardians of their gods. And instead, they embrace the fact that they look like degenerate mole people,
well,
become palers.
yep, they've embraced that, and they also essentially, to stay in under watch, they have to rob areas for food because by this point, the self-sufficient systems have all broken down.
They are
Eh,
led by their demagogues, those who understand memetics and are able to speak with such a passion that it drives
Oh god, this is actually fits the Elon Musk thing because I'm just now
their me
envisioning them using fucking memes like
their me
Doge.
their, their memers, my Kekarinos.
I could totally see these stupid motherfuckers unironically say they are Kekistani or something. I, see, here's the thing. These guys being kind of fucking embarrassing works because look at them. They're slovenly mole people. That
They
kind of
use
works out.
they use sun discs to activate various
Like them being a cult
doors.
of security guards that basically bought Elon Musk's bullshit, evil Elon Musk's bullshit.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. That actually kind of
But
works. This works out because they look a little silly, so them being a little silly is fine.
I like that the guy's night scope has they put tips on there to make it look like a sun. He's got bones on it.
Also,
Yeah,
I
there's
like how they're repurposing old security uniforms. Like they're repurposing their old security uniforms, and they basically have been re-repaired them to the point where they don't look like the original format anymore.
as I say, the sleepers will awaken. Their eyes are like golden fire, and their skin is like pristine plastic, even and without blemish.
They are
They come
watching
armed.
over robots.
No, oh, they're not. No, they're watching over people that are also influenced by memes and have nanomachines in them. As they say, they have weapons that will turn the heat of the sun against their enemies, burn them to ashes or into pillars of salt. They will take the palers by hand and lead them into the light after centuries of humility. Together they will build a realm of abundance with the bones of the above grounders. Few survivors will become slaves serving the sublime, and the palers will become a caste of priests, as it is their calling. Even though it will resist them in the beginning, it will be grateful to them in the end, and worship them until eternity. Amen.
Like I said, this is one of the other cults I think actually succeeds. This is one of the only two I like. Neo-Libyans and Palers, I like. The Spitalers are okay. The rest can go die in a hole. Well, no, I'm being a bit cruel. I'm being a bit cruel.
Every
Uh,
I was
I
every single one of them has an inkling of something great. It's bogged down by the way they present it.
and I think with the Palers, because the concept is very simple and it's at least somewhat more unique, it kind of works. Spitalians, they're okay. Neo-Libyans are good. I like them. The judges are just, it's because I've seen it elsewhere. The Helvetics are ruined by the fact that they should have all died. The Chroniclers are specifically because of how they're presented to look and what they control versus what they actually are. That's a failure. Clanners should not be in here. Scrappers should not be in here. The Scourgers are fucking horrible. The Anubians are bad, but not horrible. The Yehemedans are, I feel like it's missing stuff. Like, you really should have covered. It's a new
What's their
religion.
religion?
It's a new religious movement. You should go into that. And the Anabaptists are dropping the ball fucking hard. Oh, and apocalyptics are just hedonists, and you didn't need to go into massive detail about them.
So I think with that we will end in this on the fact that for me, as much as I enjoyed it, it is a disappointment.
We're not going to do the history because we can very quickly skim through.
I guess if we want to go with the history, um,
And now we kind
they
of, when we
yeah, no, they
covered the
talk more about the
groups.
battalions, but I think we should describe what happened at the beginning. 2043, President Trunk, I'm going to say it again, President Trunk, Board of Security Council's endless debates and bureaucratic tug of war, decides America's moving out of the UN.
Where is President Trunk on this? I don't see it.
Page 344. I skipped a lot because they're talking more about the
Ah, here we go.
post-apocalyptic world. I do want to say what how the mess of the pre-apocalyptic world. So America leaves the UN. It fractures, and then he tries to build it back again, which weakens US's global dominance. So yeah, not Trump destroys the UN, and in doing so destroys America.
Unites the European industrial relation forms a counterweight to the superpower USA, with Russia and certain Balkan states included as permanent partners with equal rights. United Africa unites the African member states, but there are few remaining since the Arab League has already united large parts of the continent under its banner. China offers its neighboring states alliances in the form of protectorate. It's globally criticized. Mm,
We enter the transhuman era. We get our mammoths back.
new power blocks arise in the question of U.S. dominance as question. Barents Sea.
HIV is conquered in 2055.
Trunk plans to reforge the broken chain, but nations like their newfound sovereignty. That's not how the UN works. That's not how any of this works.
Let's see. And then 10 years later, HIV-E emerges. It is communicable through the air, potentially making a sneezing man capable of mass murder in a cable car. Air conditioners are vectors. Um, and so, yeah, that's how it spreads. Then Recombination Group says they found the medicine's holy grail, which is at least what they tell to the European media.
You forget some awful ones. The feared humanitarian disaster does not happen. The mass migrations are expected and watched by United African troops. General Hashima, Tanzanian Bantu, is the man of the hour with his contingency plan. He holsters confidence and earns the respect of foreign leaders. What, did he just fucking shoot the people with AIDS?
I guess so. Well, yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
I guess, I guess so. Um,
The
the plague
ancient
though,
Templars with their hermetic traditions. What?
and the technophil extreme, basically, because this is where Jahamid comes in, and Garom Gatrell. Basically, okay, this is a new era. All the old religions are failing, so new religions step up.
That's not how it works. That's not how any of this works.
It doesn't. It doesn't. Um, then as people, as
At least
recombination
that's
group.
what the European online media try to tell their users to raise their subscriber numbers. They don't even understand the basics of fucking media. Oh, this is great.
And so masses now run towards Europe.
Oh yeah, the Africans are all killed by the black people, by the
Yeah,
way.
and they do say Agaz, which is in Niger.
I was right.
It Algeria and Libya though close off their lands.
By the way, something that they
Then it
don't
falls.
seem to understand. No, no, because there's this thing called the Sahara fucking desert. You know, largest desert in the world, hundreds upon hundreds of miles.
Well, you see, because that again, it makes sense because Algeria falls in a fucking year.
I'm calling bullshit on that.
Then 2070, they found those asteroids, and let's see, recombination group does make their HIV I guess, vaccine, but facilities run far under full capacity due to Project Tannhauser.
Yeah, and then after that, it's just kind of blah blah blah.
Yeah, and it gets to where we are. Basically, the whole thing is that Jerome Cottrell and his guys may be basically using this whole apocalypse to just restart society,
Yeah,
the way
that
they see
that
it.
sounds about right. Okay, now we can start talking about the eulogy for this book.
I got again. I for some reason I still like the setting. I like it. I would want to play in this game.
It's not an interesting setting to me.
Maybe it's the
Everything
way
that
it's.
it incorporates is just so painfully generic or mishandled or mediocre. Or in the case of the Scourgers, what the fuck? No, they we have covered 350 pages, and I can tell you, you can cut this down to probably 120 and not lose anything out of it. This is a fucking catastrophe of a book in terms of its design ethos. Out of the cults, which were the Hail Mary of Degenesis Book 1, I liked 2 of them. 2 out of 13. Let's do the mathematics on this. Um, so I'll give them 2 full points. I like the Spitalers enough to get a .7. The Helveticans got a .5. But the problem is I have to take an entire point because of the fucking Scourgers, so we're down to 2.2. The judges, I think, would probably get at least a .3 because they're not horrible. They're just very generic. The Anubians, they got some thought put in, so I'll put a .2. The Clanners don't deserve any points. The Chroniclers get a .1. Okay, 2.8. That sounds about right. Let's divide that by 13. And it got a 20%. I like 20% of the clans. That's worse than a chicken randomly pecking at a multiple choice test. A chicken randomly pecking at a multiple choice test with A through D as options has a higher score rating than this book in terms of its cults. At least with me. I feel the setting is just way too generic. The design functions of this book make it really hard to get into. its weird fetish for enslaving white people and treating black people as like fucking fentanyl laced out monkey monsters. That's what fucking weird. I I don't know. I will say that we would have to look at the mechanics for me to give a final judgment, but Degenesis book one, Primal Punk, this is trash to me. This is garbage. Because I got how many pages did I get out of this? Like 20 out of 350. I mean, it hooked you. I'm not gonna complain. Like I understand you might have found it interesting. I personally didn't find anything unique in it. And in many cases, I feel like they completely fucking squandered what they had. You have psychic Africans that are a warrior culture that are connected and interlinked by essentially a weak hive mind, and they do nothing with cavalry with them. They chose to make them speak like ape people. You have a society of doctors that are obsessed with cleanliness, but also have them misunderstand basic hygienic principle. But conversely, you have a group of XQC style streamers that are talking about chat, but in a Darth Vader voice. So far out of the lots, the only ones I really like are the Palers and the Neo-Libyans. Those guys are great. I could easily see using them in an adventure. Those are the only 2 points that really hooked me, but the setting as a whole is just too generic. Like, for
Y-
fuck's sake, the judges are literally just arbites, just dressed like cowboys, or witch hunters, technically.
Yeah, I mean, I think we made our thoughts clear on this. For some reason, it just still hooks me.
I mean, don't get me wrong, the
Maybe
concept of an
it might
evil
have been.
Elon Musk with like I want someone to draw this. I want like a demented, cracked out guy who's proclaiming himself the fusion of Jesus and Muhammad, screaming on top of the Kaaba, about to get shot in the head by like angry Muslims on Hajj because of the defilement he is doing. With a dancing Elon Musk with a fucking goatee in the background, like also dancing on top of the Kaaba and protected by like a force field he made. I want to see that. I want to see that. I would also not say no to like a paler degenerate trying to pay money to the chroniclers, like chronicler script to a titty streamer. That would also be really funny. Um, there's stuff in here I could definitely fix, but the problem is if I fix the entire setting at that point, I might as well not use it. You know?
Yeah,
Hey, like I said, I took a look at the mechanics. It's gonna go up the hill from here. No, seriously, I will state this. When we after our break, because we're gonna look next week at something from the Chronicles of Darkness, either that or Shattered Nations, we'll show you the actual reason why Degenesis is interesting. It has a really good mechanics system. It is a very fun game to play. It's just I think the lore is dog shit. So with
but
that,
yeah. With that, I'll leave you all to enjoy the night and remember, Jerome Cottrell is right.
also remember
That's
that
in,
when faced with the psychovore, you eat the seeds, smoke the crack, and shriek like a monkey.
yeah, and yeah, remember, all black people at the end of the day know a primal language of grunts, clicks, and whistles, and various guttural sounds.
Also, all palers will eventually pay for feet pics.
Amen.